Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Kickback Comics. My name is Antonio.
My name is Ben, and you guys are listening to a comic book podcast.
By two guys who have not read a lot of comics, but are looking to read some more, looking to get involved, looking to evolve, looking to be faster, better, stronger, like Daft Punk every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to be more like Daft Punk every day.
I agree.
But yeah, reading comics, this is our new hobby. And yeah, we're doing a book club. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us, guys. You know who Daft Punk reminds me of?
Who?
The people in what we're reading today, because they wear masks. Vigilantes. These are chapters. What chapters are we reading today? What are we reading today, Ben?
We're closing out Watchmen. We're talking about the final 3 chapters of Watchmen.
That we are. And it's crazy. I mean, this was really, I could not stop myself from reading through these chapters, honestly.
Yeah, it's a crazy conclusion. I mean, the whole book is incredible.
Yeah.
But the finale is, I think it delivers.
I think it definitely delivers. I think it's like, it doesn't, what's so interesting is like you really start thinking that you know where stuff is going, and then it just takes you on a different ride, which I think is fun. I think it's super, super fun. And I think that's what really like had me gripping like the edge of my seat for these last couple of chapters.
Yeah. I mean, I've read it before, but I too was gripping my seat.
That's true.
It's still super satisfying on reread. A lot. I mean, the whole book in general, I feel like, is great on reread because some of the symbolism and little
you're
Easter
catching
eggs.
A lot of these little pieces that I was thinking about that, honestly. I think that when we get to maybe like watching the movie and stuff like that too, there's probably going to be like other things that I start thinking of
That's
differently as well.
That's going to be fun to watch the movie.
Super fun.
Current game plan is we're gonna maybe do a little movie night with a bunch of our local listeners, aka our friends in LA.
yeah, and that'll be good. I'm really excited to watch that. Honestly, especially we watched the trailer last time we were hanging out too, and it got me pumped.
Yeah.
It got me pumped.
It's great. All right, man. Let's should we just dive in?
Let's dive into chapter 10. All right, this is chapter 10, issue 10. 2 writers we're approaching. In this chapter, we have Dan and Rorschach hanging out. Laurie and Dr. Manhattan are still on Mars, talking about how people are actually kind of interesting to Dr. Manhattan. But Dan and Rorschach are now working together. They're trying to figure out what's going on. There's this whole conspiracy, right, that Rorschach's been thinking about this whole time, basically being like, who's coming after us? Who killed the comedian? All that kind of stuff like that. But they're trying to figure out who's behind all that. They go back to Rorschach's apartment to recover his journal, get his, I think, extra clothes and things like that, his extra mask, find some other clues. And they also, during this chapter, go and visit some of these old like informants or people that they're hoping that they can get some info out about the conspiracy at this bar. They also actually try to contact Adrian Ozymandias throughout this as well, and he doesn't end up picking up, so they go to his high-rise, I wanted to say like apartment, but it's definitely probably like a gigantic building. But anyway, they go to his high-rise, and as they're looking through his computer, they start kind of connecting these dots, realizing that there's maybe some other crazy stuff going on here, and it's pointing to the idea that maybe Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, has maybe got his hands in some stuff that's going on here. Meanwhile, Veidt is at his base in, I think it's the Antarctic, and we kind of see glimpses of him watching like hundreds of TV screens and interacting with his servants and petting his like genetically engineered cat companion. Cat companion. And then at the end of this chapter, Dan and Rorschach decide to go to his lair, go to Veidt's lair.
Yeah, I think it's Adrian Veidt.
Adrian Veidt, yeah. Go to Adrian Veidt's lair and confront him and be like, what's going on? We went through your computer. We figured out your passwords. They were way too easy to guess. Yeah. Let us know what's going on. It's so interesting. This chapter actually starts with we get Nixon. We're getting really like, we know what time period we're talking about now for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so as you guys probably remember from our last conversation, the main threat going on right now is nuclear apocalypse.
Yep.
no big deal. Just nuclear
NBD.
apocalypse.
We're at DEFCON 2, I believe.
Right. But that's doubling down on this. So we basically see Nixon with the freaking nuclear football or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
He has the hand on the button, as it were. And he is, going into the nuclear fallout military base.
Yeah, that thing is chained to him. They said it's time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, things are heating up. Which just sort of like establishes the stakes, what's at hand, how serious the situation is, and how seriously the world leaders are taking it.
Yeah, it's getting crazy.
Then I think my favorite part of this chapter is all the interaction between Rorschach and Dan.
Yeah. I mean, we talked like a little bit about this like before the pod, but like Rorschach, I mean, we'll go into this too, but it's really an interesting side of, both of them, but like for me especially, it was like Rorschach, a different side of him that you got to see in this chapter.
He's super impatient at first, right? Like they've obviously just broke out of prison. Laurie and Dr. Manhattan are up on Mars having a philosophy, big debate
conversations.
Yeah, and meanwhile these guys are like in the East River or whatever in the owl mobile, hiding out. And Rorschach's just like, all right, what are we doing? Why are we waiting? And
Dan's like looking through all this like info, and then Rorschach's like, can we just like go outside and like try and figure some stuff out?
Can we go break some fingers? He's like,
that's really what he's asking.
Dan is like, we got to research, we got to plan, we got to lay low, and Rorschach's like, bro, let's get out there. Let's get down and dirty.
And then they go back to Rorschach's apartment to get all of his clothes, his extra mask, his extra ink blot mask, and then while they're there, they run into his old landlady, the one who said that he was a Nazi pervert. Right. And this is, I think, like one of the first moments where we see like Rorschach like kind of show emotion for the first way in a different kind of way that he has before. They come in, the landlady, I feel like everybody that sees Rorschach is like, please, like, go away. Yeah, like even when I guess she now knows that he was Rorschach like this whole time, but she's like he basically says, why did you say this stuff about me? Why did you call me a pervert? Why did you say that I
told the press I made sexual advances? Not true, very bad.
Right.
Which we even pointed out before.
I was listening to that recently, but yeah, you were just like, Dan was like, that doesn't really sound like Rorschach.
Our dude is like scared of sex. Yeah, like he has reoccurring nightmares about sex, and is always calling people like perverts and whatever. Like I don't know. I mean, Rorschach is a man of many faults, but
indeed he is. But that does not happen to be the one of today.
Just murder.
Yeah, just murder and a lot of finger breaking. But what happens here is he basically, he's pointing out, this is like a serious slur on his reputation. How much did they pay you to lie about me? Right. Calls her a whore in front of her kids. She's like, oh, please don't say that in front of the kids.
But then you can see he looks down at
he looks down on it. This is definitely one of those moments where I feel like he like sees himself and he's like, all right, I'm going to lay off because my life sucks and I don't want to inflict that on somebody else. And
that was him. He was the terrified kid whose mom was a destitute sex worker.
Yeah.
A destitute prostitute. I almost said that and I was like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy. But so his mom was going through kind of the same type of thing. And I mean, realistically, in that kind of situation too, like if they're going to give you money just to say some stuff about this guy who's kind of crazy anyway, like, give me the cash, put it in my hand.
Yeah. So then we cut to the Arctic base of Ozymandias, and this whole scene is crazy. He's just like villain monologuing, basically. As all the other times we've seen him,
but we don't know for sure yet.
Yeah, we don't.
Right now he's monologuing, right? Which is crazy.
It's true. He's just monologuing. But what I mean by the villain monologuing is there's literally like his servants and whatever he changes clothes while walking. Monologuing, like it's like peak efficiency. Every second is accounted for. He's wasting no time.
Right, exactly. That's actually a great point.
Yeah, and then what he's doing that's crazy is he just goes and sits in this room in front of a ton of screens that are all showing like different television stations and whatnot. And and I guess, is this pre-internet? It might be.
1970s, yeah. I mean, I think general internet. For sure.
I mean, maybe there was internet for specific stuff, but like the modern day equivalent of this is he is just like, downloading all the news feeds and all the all the scrolls. But yeah, he's analyzing everything that's getting broadcast on TV and making investment decisions off of it. Right. And like very interesting ones where he's like, oh, it looks like, let's see, what's some of the things he said.
He wanted to.
He
start
says,
getting
"Of course,
shares.
you're not ignoring the subtext. Increased sexual imagery, even in the candy ads. It implies an erotic undercurrent, not uncommon in times of war. Remember the baby boom?" And then they said, "So should we buy into?" And he says, "Into the major erotic video companies. That's short term. Also, we should negotiate controlling shares in selected baby food and maternity goods manufacturers. I think I'm ready to begin recording now." So yeah. We just see that he. I mean, this guy's just wild.
Yeah, he's like exactly. I mean, this is, I feel like, the kind of conversations that are realistically happening with like some of these big billionaires and whatever else in our world, where it's like the world is happening around them, and they're just like, all right, what can I do here to make a buck off this thing, right? And he's like, the world's going to war,
and that's how this ends. It's just me and the world. Is literally what he says. You're right. And he sees himself on that scale, which we, as
he's TV maxing.
Right, TV maxing. You got to. Anyways, cut back to one of my favorite scenes again. We see their submarine. Rorschach and Dan are submarining around in the river. We see fish swimming by, all that, and this is like a really cool character moment, in my opinion, between the two of them.
Totally agree.
It's like one of my favorite. The Dan and Rorschach's relationship. It's one of my favorite parts of this story in general, I think, and how they're sort of like two sides of the Batman coin, if you were. You know what I mean? Like it sort of feels like they together are Batman. Yeah. But then they're like the two different, all these different components of him. Yeah, divvied up between the two of them. And obviously they have their own things going on, but it's interesting to think about them in the context of like them as a unit and then them as individuals. And you can see like they, like let's see, let's find some good quotes here. Basically they're problem solving together. And basically Rorschach is being so impatient, and Dan kind of snaps at him because Rorschach says he's being lazy. He's like, we've been lazing around too long. Maybe you've forgotten how we do things. And Dan says, lazing? Listen, I've had it. Who the hell do you think you are? You live off people while insulting them. Nobody complains because they think you're a goddamn lunatic. And you know how hard it is being your friend? Look, Rorschach, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said all that. Listen, you're right. We've both been down here too long, and it might be dark enough for us to surface, so I'll take it up. So, I think it's like Rorschach having someone say how hard it is being your friend.
Right. Everybody's afraid of Rorschach. Right. Nobody's going to like keep it a buck with him except for probably Dan.
Right. And I think it's like one of those moments too where Rorschach realizes that Dan is his friend. Yeah. I don't think he even thinks, obviously he likes Dan, but and then you can see he also calls him Daniel.
I know that. He's like one of the only ones who
calls him Daniel. Right. And then it cuts for these frames, these panels, we are the perspective of Rorschach. The panels take the view. We're looking out from his mask, and he says, Daniel, you are a good friend. I know that. I'm sorry. It's sometimes difficult, and he's really struggling to talk, but it's just this really intimate moment. Maybe like one of the most intimate Rorschach moments, I think. Like, it's like the only time he's being vulnerable. Yeah. This tiny little, it's like what, 6 panels? Yep. But he says, hey, Dan says, hey, forget it. It's okay, man. It's okay. And they're like doing like a handshake that ends up.
Rorschach
doesn't want to let go. Yeah. It's so sweet. They just like because he can't hug people. He's like scared of intimacy. Right. He's scared of like sexual contact of any kind. Yeah. So it's literally like this little long handshake between the two of them.
Realistically, you make a great point. Probably his only like physical contact that he normally gets is like literally hurting people. Yeah. And so this is a very different.
And in this chapter, he's talking about, why are you, we don't need to be researching. Give me a hand and some fingers, and I'll get us more relevant information. Yeah. And you can just see they have a little bit of an awkwardly long handshake. And, he says, anyways, no worries. Let's go. And then we see them lift. There's this really cool panel.
I was just going to say, great panel of them lifting up out of the water. Beautiful.
And it looks amazing. And again, talking about the use of color, which we've shout out our boy Scott McCloud.
Yeah, shout out Scotty.
Use of color, one of our key concepts.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
We've talked about this before, but let's actually, who's the color artist for this? It's just probably Dave Gibbons, the artist. I think he did the color as well as the art, but the art is so bright.
Oh no, it's John Higgins.
John Higgins. Thank you for checking that. Yeah. Shout out John Higgins.
Shout out.
The choices
really beautiful.
beautiful
across this whole thing.
And so much of this, like a lot of the story happened. I think we said this before, but it's important to re-underline here.
Yeah.
A lot of this story happens in relatively mundane settings.
Yes.
It's kind of like city blocks and, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
And they make the choice. They could just make everything concrete and realistic and gray, but instead he chooses to use bright colors. Like in this shot, they're lifting out of the water, and the water is literally orange and yellow because it's the light from this buoy is reflecting off the water, and it just makes everything so striking. Like the next scene is all the next couple scenes are taking place in the bar where they're about to go interrogate people, and those are all like deep reds. You know, it's just, you know, and later on there's another panel that when we were just doing our little pre-pod preparation, we were realizing, you know, he's painting people green, but somehow it doesn't look unreal. It's not like he's just choosing to do it. It's just the way he's choosing to present color makes
everything is like very saturated. And actually, before we get to that next bit of them in the bar, I want to just talk like for a short bit about this pirate story. Right, this is something that we've been following all the way through. This guy, he's now officially made it like back to his hometown, thinking that this old pirate ship has come and just like absolutely destroyed everything. He sees these two people. He kills both of them
with a rock.
Like this dude's like an actual, like, I mean, he's maybe rightfully so, but he's like absolutely crazy now. Kills them. This man and a woman, he props the woman's corpse up on a horse, takes both of the horses, goes back into town. And
to recap the general arc of, at least as I remember it, what has been going on in the pirate story, right? The protagonist of the pirate story was on a boat. It got attacked by a evil pirate crew.
Right.
All of his people on the boat got slaughtered.
Dead.
He survived. And then there was some explicit thing where the pirate ship was then headed to ransack and whatever, to take over his home,
kill his
outpost,
wife and kids, all that kind of stuff.
So this whole thing is he's been on this insane, made a lifeboat out of the corpses of his shipmates. And fought sharks and all that.
He's eating raw seagull. He's killing
and
sharks.
It's all so that he can like try to get back to get revenge on the pirates for having ransacked his home.
Yeah, exactly.
And killed his friends.
He thinks that like everybody's like they're already there and everybody's already dead, and he's coming to get revenge.
So this is revenge is the key. Yeah. You know, also as part of I think the Rorschach symbolism. Or I don't know Rorschach, but revenge exactly. Right. And he pulls up, murders these people. He just sees them. He doesn't go talk to them. He's like, oh, look at these people who have taken over my home.
Yep.
On site, kill them.
Yeah, pretty insane. But anyway, now we're back into our bar here. And Rorschach and Dan are trying to figure out, they're trying to find some clues related to what's going on with this whole conspiracy that's been going on and against. I mean, this is also actually, I think, a really interesting, again, Dan and Rorschach working together scene. So they walk in, Rorschach's doing his thing. Everybody screams because Rorschach has entered the bar again. Everybody's like, please go away. We don't want to,
He also stinks. They said this is his backup Rorschach outfit. Which has been like
just sitting there.
Like he's like, sorry about. There's some exchange where he like apologizes to Dan for how it smells. Which is crazy.
Right.
He's like this scary, stinky man.
Right. But so they go in. Some guy is yelling at me, and he says, "You bastards! I buy you drinks." He's yelling at basically. Oh, actually, all right. I'm gonna go back for a second here. So they come to this bar, and it's actually kind of a hilarious. This is probably one of the most comedic between two panels, moments where they walk into Rorschach's like, we're trying to find info, like what's going on around here, and everybody is like looking at Rorschach and Dan, and then the next panel is everybody looking at like one dude in the bar, and the dude's like, you bastards, I buy you drinks, you guys sell me out. Rorschach goes up, grabs his hand, and just shatters the glass in this dude's hand, and just crunches it, and just this dude's bleeding, he's yelling. He ends up telling Rorschach about these envelopes, and you kind of get this story that, like, the way that, the assassination attempt that happened on Adrian, you know what this reminded me of? It reminded me of, like, in The Dark Knight, where, in the beginning, where, like, the Joker, like, all of his henchmen are, like, he's like, what happened to the guy before me, right? And it's like, oh, guy told me to kill him, right? And they just keep killing each other. And this is, I think, the same kind of thing that's happening here, where it's like the guys who have kind of been carrying out these different either assassination things or whatever else throughout this plan of Adrian's have all been like getting chopped off and whatever else along the way. But so this guy doesn't really know who it was that gave him the envelope or all these other things, and he just does not know. But it ended up. He says, "I didn't know Veidt was in the Veidt was in the contract." And then this is an interesting moment. This is where Dan sees one of the. I guess this is what we ended up learning was like the Top Knot gang.
The Top Knot gang, right?
Yeah.
Dan wasn't aware that Hollis Mason had been killed yet,
right?
Because he's been so occupied with busting Rorschach out of prison.
Yeah,
and this is the moment where he realizes that his childhood hero and mentor, Hollis Mason, aka Night Owl #1, got killed.
Yeah, exactly.
He obviously does not respond very well.
No, he does not. This is also, I will say before we even get into that, this is also one of a panel that I took a photo of because of the way that the shout out to our boy Scott, but the way that the speech bubbles are done here,
right?
Because you get like Rorschach's talking behind Dan, and you get this speech bubble that like wraps over Dan's shoulder to indicate where that is coming from, right? And I just thought that was like a super cool little, this is just
that's
the art of comics.
That's a
right
great
here.
shout out. Another thing, I thought you were going to say, I didn't even that wraparound is crazy. I'm just seeing what you're looking at. The other thing about Rorschach's, especially when he has his face on, his Rorschach face, his speech bubbles have like a texture around.
Right.
Him,
I didn't realize that was just based like when he has his. Wow. Yeah, that's a good.
Maybe
point.
We should check. Maybe when he takes it off, maybe it's the same. But it's like it's a way to just differentiate the way Rorschach speaks, which I think we're supposed to imply. I mean, just the way he speaks. I think he speaks in angry, dark.
Also, you're 100% right. I'm looking at this now. Back when he was talking to the landlady, his speech bubbles are like normal. So it's only when he has his mask on.
Right. So when he's in Rorschach mode, he is the night.
Yeah, exactly.
It's maybe all muffled from his crazy face mask and what.
Right. That's probably just disgusting. But
that's a great. Hey.
Yeah,
great find. We're really out here.
We're locking in. Scott's gonna be proud when he listens to this. He's gonna be pumped.
Look how far we've come. This is episode 7, and
we're noticing it all. But so Dan notices this guy from the Top Knot gang, and Rorschach is like messing with this other dude, and then he hears this scream from behind, and Dan is like, we've never seen Dan like this. He's like choking this dude out, and is basically like, who did it? Tell me who did it. You slime. Who murdered Hollis? And this is like one of those moments which was really interesting, where Rorschach's looking at him like, damn, dude, like, you got to chill out. Like,
we just said break their hands, okay?
Yeah, we could say choke them to death and whatever else. And yeah, Dan's like threatening. He's like, do you know how much firepower I have, like, out here? Like, I'll kill everybody and whatever else. Like,
he does, bro. He can like shoot missiles.
Yeah, and then Rorschach's
owl plane.
Right, exactly. And Rorschach's like, not in front of civilians. We have the knowledge that we wanted. And this is another moment that shows like Rorschach's like principles to a certain extent, right?
Because from the outside, Rorschach can just seem insane. I mean, Rorschach is insane to a certain extent, but he is operating from a very strict code.
Yeah.
He's like, I will do violence to people, but not too much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm doing violence for a specific reason.
Right.
Right. And so, but they get at least as much information as they can out of this. Rorschach also kind of, I mean, not like perfect comfort, but tries to like offer something to Dan about
the death of Hollis.
Right, the death of Hollis. And we get this moment where they start kind of walking off together. Let's see. I'm trying to see. I can't believe he's dead. I remember Adrian was telling me, oh yeah, this is where we start getting an interesting thing about. I mean, Adrian is a really interesting guy, and we'll get into that. But he says, I can't believe he's dead. This is Dan referencing Hollis. I remember Adrian was telling me that the Egyptians regarded death as a voyage, and Rorschach, does this nice thing where he says, nice idea if you can afford to go first class with pharaohs, but judging by our departures, most of us travel steerage. Kind of a funny thing. Rorschach, He's got a little comedy in him sometimes.
Right.
All right, now we get to this island
Yeah.
This is the island. Tell
we
us
jump
about
back
it,
to the
Ben.
island. Yeah, sure. So we get this crazy little island interjection. We've been, as we've been getting hints over the course of the book that Adrian. Well, now we know that Adrian's the one running the island, but we have had little hints from the comedian. He got to the bottom of the island. That's why the comedian had to get killed because he became aware.
He was
of it.
like flying over. He was doing some stuff, and he was probably doing some absolutely heinous shit for the South America for the U.S. government, and was flying over this island and saw some stuff was going on,
and then went and investigated. But this is where we've gotten those little jump backs, all the missing artists, which is very interesting, all the storytellers, the author of the Tales of the Black Freighter or whatever, this woman, Indian woman who was painting this like crazy looking canvas with some kind of thing on it.
We've got geneticists. We've got, I think, even a psychic as well that's on this island.
But again, what's funny, or interesting, is this is their like wrap up end of project party, and they're all like literally having a party. They're smoking cigars, they're drinking, they're cheersing, and they're all getting on this big ship to leave the island, and they're all like, "Yeah, we did it.
Right?
We get to go. We're all gonna go and have these lives, like good lives now."
Right.
And then we actually see the author of the pirate comic and this painter. They are having like a romantic situation, and they go to.
They're down like in the bottom of the boat.
Yeah, they're gonna go like have sex in the boat, and they
like
realize,
the middle floor.
Yeah, and they realize that it's surrounded by explosives.
Well, it's like that's like the funny thing is that it's the writer Max Shea himself who they're like messing around, and then they like can't really see, and they're like, what are we hitting right now? And then he turns on the light, excuse me, and then he sees a bomb ticker basically.
He's like, and he doesn't tell her, he just says, she's like, what's wrong? He's like, nothing. Just hold me.
Right.
And then we see the whole boat explode. So again, same thing we just learned in the bar. All of the different people involved in the plot are getting knocked off, knocking off each other one by one. And here we go. All the scientists, all these people, everybody involved on the secret island, everyone's wiped out.
Gone.
Dead.
Gone.
So now we can really, as readers, we're going, all right, Adrian's doing something. It's Adrian. We know, they're going to investigate his tower, and we're like, all right, something bad is happening. It's real bad. It's probably Ozymandias. Here we go.
Right, and so now we've got Dan and Rorschach in Adrian's big high-rise area. They're looking for all this.
It's like Trump Tower, low-key.
Yeah, basically, it kind of is. And so they're looking around. They're trying to be like, because they haven't like fully confirmed in their minds that this is Adrian. They're like, okay, like we got to look around. Maybe
because it doesn't make sense. I mean, he is like one of the world's greatest heroes.
Right.
Supposedly the smartest man in the world.
Yeah.
He also has literally done nothing himself to arouse suspicion. Yeah. Really, he was
an assassination attempt, right? Yeah, they're like they're coming after him too. What's going on?
Right.
And we started also seeing this thing where like, okay, also Pyramid Deliveries, right, which is one of the shell companies that Adrian sets up or whatever else. But Adrian's got all this like stuff around that's like Egyptian. He's got like, I think he's got like a thing of like Anubis or something like that in his place.
He's super into, he also in his monologuing talks about Alexander the Great a lot. There's such a cool Alexander the Great monologue that's upcoming. We're going to dig into that once we get there.
Yeah, we'll dig into that too.
But he's big into the pharaohs and all these big world historical figures and ancient cultures, and all his, he's all about perfecting your mind and meditating and peak athletic performance and, becoming like the uber man, like the best form of man you can be. Right. All of that. He's like obsessed with.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then Dan is like going through Adrian's computer. He's typing in passwords. Pretty interesting that this computer like kind of tells him, he types in Ramses and the computer's like, the password's incomplete. You might want to add a couple more characters there right now. And then Dan's like, Dan types in Ramses the second, and then he starts going through all these files. And then you have this moment where Rorschach looks over and he's like, Daniel, found something? Oh God, yes, I found something. Rorschach, I think we're in bad trouble. The person behind this, the person we're up against, I think it's Adrian. All this Egyptian stuff, I thought I'd check out Pyramid Deliveries on his computer. As a password, I tried Ramses II, the Egyptian name for Ozymandias. He runs it, Rorschach. He runs Pyramid Deliveries, Dimensional Developments, the whole show. But, and then they basically start talking about it. But he was a target. Like, what's going on? And then they realize that they got to go see him and figure out this is crazy. This is like really figuring out your boy is like the devil. And you're like, what is going on here, and he's orchestrating all this stuff. Rorschach also towards the end of this starts really writing down a whole bunch of stuff in his journal, which will also come back later, but he kind of starts pointing out that he does not know if they're going to be coming back from this, and so he drops off his journal in the mailbox, sends that off to who knows, right?
Yeah, that's an important moment to highlight.
Yeah.
I just Wikipedia Ramses II.
Yeah.
And it says he was the third ruler of the 19th dynasty, along with like King Tut III, Tutmose III of the 18th dynasty. He's often regarded as the greatest and most celebrated and most powerful pharaoh of the New Kingdom, which itself was the basically this is the guy who was running it at the height of Egypt. All widely considered one of ancient Egypt's most successful warrior pharaohs, conducting no fewer than 15 successful military campaigns.
Yeah.
He only lost one battle, this Battle of Kadesh, which is considered a stalemate. So anyways, whatever. He's and in ancient Greek sources, he's called Ozymandias, derived from the part of his Egyptian language, which means the great ancestor is what they call him.
So it goes to show you what Adrian thinks of himself as well.
Right.
Pretty unbelievable.
He thinks he's a pharaoh king.
He does think he's a pharaoh king. But so we kind of reach the end of the moment where Rorschach and Dan are like, let's go. And then we get a little bit more of this pirate story where we just see this guy's just going crazy. I mean, he's like riding back to the town. There's like a scarecrow, and he sees it in the distance, and he's like, they have the Watchmen, or not. That's funny. I said Watchmen, but they've got the security guy like out watching, but we snuck past him. He has such a funny line where he says like something like, he says, trotting unhurriedly to avoid suspicion, I rode past. If he noted the lovers' unusually early return from their assassination, the sentinel said nothing, perhaps assuming we'd argued. Which I thought was kind of funny.
He's got this whole like narrative in his head.
Exactly.
It's like he's literally like riding a horse with a corpse strapped to a horse next to him past a scarecrow.
Yeah, he's
like, I'm killing it. No,
I'm literally killing it. Yeah.
No one knows.
But so we get to the end of this. We see that Rorschach's journal gets picked up by the guys from the New Frontiersmen, which is pretty crazy. That's who he was mailing it to. That's where he was like, these are the only people I can trust in the world. But he said,
which is the alt-right newspaper.
Yeah, the alt-right newspaper. If you
and you see them put it, they're like, we got, like, they put
him in the crank
down.
file.
Yeah.
They're like, put him with all the other crazy people, whatever else. Not us.
Why?
We're not crazy, but throw him on there. And then we see Dan and Rorschach. They're in the Owlmobile. They're flying to Antarctica. It's too cold because they got out of the water. The thing freezes, and so they kind of like crash land, but they make it. They jump on these like scooters. Dan's got like everything. Also, Dan's got such like a sick outfit. He's got his like snow owl.
Yeah,
he kind of just like flexes on everybody in this moment.
He's just so he's got like I got my snow suit.
Yeah, and
they're reminiscing. It's really sweet.
Yep.
They're like, oh, remember? Let's see. They're like, oh yeah, you. They took Archie down. Let's see. I'm gonna find it. He's like, yes, good. I think of it. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna find this.
Go ahead.
He's like, I'm gonna break out the bikes while I get in my snowsuit. You sure you don't need something warmer? Rorschach says, I'm fine like this. Rorschach says, we used these when we took Underboss. Remember riding along the sewer? Dan says, God, yes. They knew we couldn't get Archie down there, and they figured they were safe. And then you shoot out of that tunnel with a gas cloud and rats running all ahead of you. Man, their faces. And Rorschach says, yes, good night. Think of it often. As I recall, the controls are simple. So anyway, it's just cute. They're reminiscing.
Again, we're just getting like good moments between these guys, their connection before the end of this. And then we end this chapter with this really ominous, like we see that they're already on camera basically, and Ozymandias is sitting there. He's like petting his cat dog creature thing, Puma, whatever it is, and just saying, everything's all right. And we really see him sitting, the light is like glinting off his armor. He's in his supervillain era for sure.
Yeah, stroking his chin.
Yeah,
and then we end with a Bob Dylan quote. It says, outside in the distance, a wild cat did growl. 2 riders were approaching. The wind began to howl.
Yep. And then we get this end of this chapter is just like, it's just all about Ozymandias just like advertising toys and different things like that. But there's this one kind of, these 2 paragraphs in one of these letters where they're talking about marketing strategy for the stuff they're working on. And so this starts with saying, "Well, this marketing strategy is certainly relevant and indeed successful in a context of social upheaval. I feel we must begin to take into account the fact that one way or another, such conditions cannot endure indefinitely." And so they basically go on talking about how they have to prepare to adjust their marketing and the things that they're selling based on the peace or not peace of the world.
Right.
And so they say, it basically says, this civilization finds itself immersed in the situation that civilization finds itself immersed in will either lead to war or it won't. If it leads to war, our best plans become irrelevant. If peace endures, I contend that a new surge of social optimism is likely, necessitating a new image for Veidt Cosmetics to a new customer. And so they basically talk about doing all this new stuff. But so Adrian is really this guy who's like, I don't really give a shit if the world goes to war. I'm just trying to sell some new perfume.
Yeah, and you see all these different Veidt company products, like nostalgia. That's like a reoccurring motif we haven't really focused on.
Yeah.
But throughout the story, like Lori has a bottle of nostalgia perfume.
Yeah.
It shatters on Mars.
Right.
There's like a whole panel of it breaking on Mars. We see one of my favorite parts is we see the marketing for little action figures of Rorschach, Ozymandias, and Night Owl, and the Archie, the owl ship.
Yep.
And do you see? It's like Rorschach, new figure, fully jointed, posable, new accessory, Rorschach's grappling gun. You just see them as it's a funny. It's like one of the cool things about the setting where the heroes are both real vigilantes and also toys.
Yeah.
Market. It's just a weird. It's a weird. It's just bizarre. The whole thing is.
But you just Adrian is just like really one of those guys, and then we also get the Veidt method.
I think it is Adrian Veidt.
Adrian Veidt, the Veidt method at the end, where he's like very much like a self-help kind of like guru, and also like very much a
health in the body,
health in the
creating
body,
the
like
new you.
control yourself, like it's willpower through your mind. You can achieve anything, kind of thing. Creating a new you.
Step-by-step guide to realizing the exciting potentials latent within every one of us. There's a bright new world around the corner. It's going to just need heroes as badly as this one does. And one of them could be you. Yeah. Which, again, is this interesting, he's all, I sort of monologued about this earlier, but his whole thing is perfecting, like he does gymnastics all the time and he meditates all the time. And he's all about becoming like the perfect human.
The perfect human.
And then we also see the end of the chapter, another art motif is
this thing. What's crazy is it wasn't even really dawning on me until I got to the end where I was like, man, these clocks are getting really bloody.
Right. At the end of the chapter, we see a clock with the hands counting down to midnight, and blood is further dripping down the top of the page. And this next chapter, there's a lot of blood. It's mostly blood.
There's a lot going on here. All right, so now chapter 10, we're on to chapter 11. Look on my works, ye mighty. And this basically starts off with, we see Adrian and his servants in a bubble.
Let's jump back to the dossier and read our little summary real quick.
Oh, you make a great point. Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. I can. No problem. All right. Yeah. So here we are on the dossier. Chapter 11 is all about confrontation. So Dan and Rorschach arrive at Veidt's Antarctic hideout, and they sneak inside, only to be greeted by Veidt himself. Adrian is willing to tell them his whole plan, and he, reveals that he's obsessed with Alexander the Great. There's this whole monologue we're going to get into. So he basically calmly walks them through everything he's been planning. His whole plan is really to unite the world through a single massive catastrophe.
Yep.
And he basically believes the only way to stop global war is to give the whole world a bigger common enemy. Mm-hmm. And we also see, the street level people in the background, all the different sort of side characters, like the news vendor and the kid reading the pirate comic book, and the lesbian who was hanging up the sign against advocating against rape, the psychiatrist that was working in the prison with Rorschach and his wife, like all
everybody's
these
kind of coming together.
Right there, we see all of those little background street level character story arcs all sort of come together, and then there's a big shock at the end when Veidt is confronted by Rorschach and Dan.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's our overview of the chapter, and now we can get down and dirty.
Dive into it. But so we enter this chapter seeing this kind of dome start. I mean, this is also a great art moment where it starts like this dome starts appearing kind of out of the snow, out of all the ice, and it's all white until we start seeing all these. I mean, it's really, really bright colors against this really starkly white background. And what we end up seeing is that Ozymandias has a kind of like tropical whatever thing in the middle
like
of
a greenhouse.
Antarctica. Yeah, exactly.
Greenhouse in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see
Which is also like, that's, what's the word? I'm reaching for the word and I can't remember.
Oasis?
No, it's like his audacity that he's like, I'm going to make my base. I'm going to make my base in the Arctic and I'm going to make a tropical environment.
Yeah, he is.
Because I'm going to put the jungle on the ice caps.
I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Truly
you could just go to the
want.
jungle. You could be in Brazil, bro. You know?
He could be. He could be in Nicaragua like the rest of all the people, but no.
What people are you referring to?
That's where the island is. That's where the island is. Crazy. All right. But so we see Adrian sitting watching all these TVs. He's seeing Rorschach and Dan coming up, and they basically kind of get to a certain point where they stop and they see this. I think is this when they actually see like a little hole in the wall type thing. I'm trying to remember here. Yeah, they're basically going up on the, they're coming up on the compound and they're basically trying to figure out like, is this really like Adrian? Did he really do this? They never thought that he'd even really be, they says, he never killed anybody. Why would he want to destroy the world? Rorschach's kind of being funny, just chewing on these, his sugar cubes again and things like that. And they kind of ask the question, like, how can anybody tell if the smartest man in the world has gone crazy, which is a really kind of interesting philosophical type thing. He's supposed to be the smartest man in the world. Is it crazy what he's doing? Or is he the guy who knows what's going on?
Right.
I don't know. But so we get in, and this is kind of when we start getting towards Adrian doing his monologue about, we see this gigantic painting, I'm assuming, in his lair as he starts getting up and walking away from all the TVs, which I'm assuming is Alexander the Great.
For sure.
In here. And there's an interesting moment where he talks to all his servants, and he's basically like, they definitely are like in like a cage type situation. Like, at least that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, there's another part with the servants where it says there's like a little anecdote in a newspaper clipping or something where it says, I think they were like prisoners of war from Vietnam. And he saved them, and so, or something. Basically, they feel super indebted to him,
right? And
so they are like by choice, kind of his servants.
Well, they probably were like by choice, like originally, and then he's like, "Thanks for coming." Right. now you're not going anywhere, right, for sure.
Exactly. Well, we see do you want to keep going?
Yeah, sure. Then we actually get a jump back to kind of the street level stuff where we see the newspaper salesman. He's actually talking to the girlfriend of the lesbian woman we saw before, Joey. She comes up. She's kind of asking for her, and we start getting this theme that they start bringing about where there's just so much like conflict. Like,
it's going like New York is in a rough state. The gangs are going crazy. Everybody's freaking out. It feels like we're on the brink of nuclear apocalypse. The president is in the bunker with his hand on the button. Everybody knows it. People are fighting in the streets.
Right. People are fighting in the streets.
It's kind of like, obviously right now we're not on the brink of nuclear apocalypse, but I think we're feeling that now, right?
Yeah,
everybody, things are heating up. People are acting crazy. Stuff is getting
Everybody's
more
fighting.
wild, more violence happening.
Definitely another parallel to our time right now. But we also get one of the craziest parts of this pirate story as well in this moment where the guy, he's been riding, he gets back to his house. He's like, I'm going to come in there and just kill everybody who's killed all my family. And he walks in and he sees somebody walk past, I think. Everybody's like asleep. And he's like, one was awake. And then, he doesn't want them to raise the alarm. So he jumps on them and starts beating them immediately. And then he looks up and he's like, I see like familiar faces. And basically what we realize is that he looks up and sees his kids. And the person that he's beating on is his wife. And it says, the children wailed. I looked down at the figure beneath me. Through puffed and bloodied lips she mouthed my name. And then he runs off kind of into the night. And this is a great kind of quote here where he says, "There came an understanding so large it left no room for sanity. As I fled past the mounted cadaver outside, lanterns flared in nearby windows." Right, that an understanding so large that it left no room for sanity is just such a
And then this other part he says, it's wild. This realization, right? So basically,
that's kind of what we're experiencing, right? So this is where we get these parallel stories going on, where that's the realization that kind of Rorschach and Dan are approaching in their own
right. And yeah, I mean, to be clear, what we realize in this moment is the pirates haven't arrived yet. This whole time he's thinking he's infiltrating the pirate base that was his former home. And in reality, he's just killing people from his town, and he just attacked his wife and his children. So, and he kind of just panics and runs off.
He does. And then we get this moment. This is where Adrian really starts monologuing. Yep. He gives us the whole rundown.
He's monologuing to his Vietnamese servants in the
vivarium.
Yeah, the vivarium.
Yeah. And so, but he basically kind of goes on this whole thing of like, I think it was his parents came to America in 1939. They ended up passing away by 17. My parents were both dead, and I faced a different decision. He had a big inheritance, and he ended up like giving the whole thing away,
right? To prove that you don't. He basically was like, "I'm not going to be." He could be a nepo. He didn't want to be accused of being a nepo baby.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm giving it all away and I'm starting from scratch. And then he literally ends up, he says Alexander of Macedonia, right? Which is Alexander the Great. I idolized him, a young army commander. He'd swept along the coast of Turkey and Phoenicia, subduing Egypt before turning his armies toward Persia. He died age 33, ruling most of the civilized world. And he goes on basically talking about, he literally...
Read the next part. All
right, I'm ready. Ruling without barbarism, at Alexandria he instituted the ancient world's greatest seat of learning. True, people died, perhaps unnecessarily, though who can judge such things? Yet how nearly he approached his vision of a united world. I was determined to measure my success against his. Firstly, I gave away my inheritance to demonstrate the possibility of achieving anything starting from nothing. Next, I departed for northern Turkey to retrace my hero's steps. So he gives away his entire inheritance, and then somehow, I don't know how that makes any sense, but then he gives away all his money and then goes to Turkey and literally retraces Alexander the Great's steps.
I wanted to match his accomplishment, bringing an age of illumination to a benighted world.
Yep, exactly. I wanted to have something to say to him should we meet in the Hall of Legends.
Crazy. And it's also dark foreboding here where he's true people had to die, perhaps unnecessarily, though who can judge these things?
Who can judge these things other than myself?
That's
Yeah. And then now we're back on the street again with basically we're dealing with everybody again. This is like this whole kind of thing where there's unrest, everybody's It just seems like everything's just going to shit, basically.
Right. And so is the pirate story, right?
Yes.
So to be clear, we're having this grim conclusion to the pirate story as the kid is reading it outside of the newsstand guy, all the as I have repeated, I think, but all the street level plots are intertwining right now.
They're converging all together.
We see the lesbian couple get into a dispute. This sort of this flashes back and forth over the rest of the chapter. So we can just sort of run through what's going on that. But yeah, the lesbian couple have a dispute. There's this really cool moment where the newsstand guy and the kid reading the pirate comic realize that they both have the same name.
Right, they've been talking this whole time throughout the story, and they have the same name. And
it's like, we've never asked each other's names. How crazy! And
right, the newspaper guy's like, my name's Bernie, and then the other guy's like, my name's Bernard, or whatever else. And there's like, we had the same name, and it's so funny because the kid's like, I don't mean nothing, man. Don't make it too serious.
Right. And then also we see the Rorschach's
psychiatrist. Well, his wife shows up and she's like, where, I'm looking for my husband or whatever else, right? And then the newspaper guy's like, I don't know, go ask the black guy who like sells watches. And she's like, oh yeah, because we all know each other, right, man? Fuck you, right? That kind of thing. But then we have all these stories coming together, and then the psychiatrist, he sees Joey and her girlfriend fighting, and he's like, I want to go do something about this, right? I got to try and stop them. And then his wife's like, you got to focus on other things. Like you can't let the this all just totally take over
He says,
you.
Gloria, I'm sorry, those people, they're hurting each other. And she says, Malcolm, don't you dare get involved. Basically, she's saying, hey, we can get back together as long as you promise me you'll be different.
You don't let like the world kind of consume you, like the outside stuff consume you to where we can't even have our relationship.
Yeah. But basically she's trying to tell him, do not be caught up by the sufferings of others. You need to look away from it and just focus on us. And he says, please, Gloria, I have to. In a world like this, I mean, it's all we can do is to try to help each other. It's all that means anything. And she, she said, Gloria, I'm sorry. It's the world. I can't run from it.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
There's a lot of,
and then that, all right, so let's jump back to what's going on with Ozymandias
doing his whole. Again, he's just like, this man is yapping up a storm at these servants that are out there. And then the crazy thing is that he finishes his whole monologue, at least to them, and he opens up. And I think that he's also like getting them drunk. Which is interesting.
I think he killed them. I think they're all drinking wine, and it appears that they, by the end of his speech, are keeled over.
Yeah. I think that you're definitely right about that.
So I think he's poisoned his servants, and then what Antonio was just about to get at is he presses a button and opens up the roof of this whole greenhouse and lets all of the wind and snow and everything rush in and destroy everything. And you see hummingbirds and butterflies and tropical birds and stuff
all just completely succumb to the elements. And the same thing with the servants. So you see this one, kind of these three panels right next to each other. One of the servants just completely covered in snow.
Yeah.
Pretty unbelievable guy.
It's grim. This guy is, he's a sicko.
Yeah. And then we get back to some more, we're jumping around to another part of the pirate story. And this is really kind of the end of this thing here, where our main character here is kind of running out to the ocean, being like, just losing his mind. And then he sees what he's like most feared, which is that the pirate ship is coming. It's now coming.
He beat it somehow on his
on his raft,
his crazy corpse raft.
And there's this they come to Davidstown to wait until they could collect the only prize they'd ever valued, to claim the only soul they ever truly wanted, right? So he ends up actually like swimming towards the ship, and we can kind of wrap the story up here, at least with the pirate stuff. But he swims toward this ship, and there's this great let me see if I can find this quote here that comes out of this one. But he, it's dark and lurching mass filled all my vision. I saw the heads nailed to its prow, heard drunken laughter, encouragements barked from the deck above. We get this really kind of this quote that wraps up the end of this pirate story, where he's going towards this ship. And it says, the world I tried to save was lost beyond recall. I was a horror amongst horrors. Must I dwell, right? And so he basically just accepts that he is just as terrible, just as horrific as these pirates that he's been trying to fight against this whole time. A rope snaked down, spluttering, I grabbed it, and from the decks above a cheer went up, both gross and black, its stench affronting heaven. That's the end of the pirate story.
Crazy.
Pretty unbelievable.
Not a very happy ending for
not a happy ending at all for our pirate. So now we can get back to basically what ends up happening with Dan and Rorschach. They end up rolling up on the compound. They end up finding actually the little kind of hole that comes out through the vivarium that Adrian went through as well. And so they sneak inside, or what they think that they're sneaking inside, and they come up to this gigantic feast that Ozymandias is having, or at least he's having his own feast.
He's set up at this table.
Yeah, he's set up at this table.
And they walk through the snow-filled, tropical zone. They're like, what and what?
Yeah, what is going on here? Right, exactly. And so they make their way inside, and they see Adrian sitting. He's eating food, and then Rorschach, I think, intelligently just immediately goes for him. And then Ozymandias just smacks the hell out of him and just says, manners, right? And then our boy Dan tries to kind of send something. I can't even see what he's...
Some kind of a gadget.
Yeah,
he pulls out some kind of like
that he shoots at him, right?
Gadget thing.
And then Adrian does a good old like Captain America, like throwing his shield, hits Dan in the nose, right? And then
he's always using these artifacts. It's like some golden bowl or something on his table. He's always
you're right.
He's always like picking up Egyptian artifact. He's always fighting with artifacts.
Very much like his thing. And then we see this moment where it just, he's just standing there, says, now what can I do for you? You see Rorschach and Dan both just kind of like incapacitated, sitting at...
and he's calmly pouring himself another drink.
Right, exactly.
He's handling them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so then we kind of get more of the story of... talking about Edward Blake, we get a little bit more about the comedian, where we end up learning that...
right. Dan is Dan says, he says, yo, what can I do for you? And Dan says, oh, damn it. You know what this is all about. Pyramid deliveries are behind this whole mess, and you're behind Pyramid. Christ, Adrian, what are you trying to do? And he said, what we all tried to do after our initial struggle to find our feet. I'm trying to improve the world, like when I started out.
Yeah.
And then now he's monologuing to Rorschach and Dan.
He loves a good monologue.
Yeah.
I think he definitely loves hearing himself talk. And so, we end up learning that the comedian, again, this is what we ended up finding out why Blake died. But we also end up learning, it seems like he's alluding that comedian killed Hooded Justice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And looks like right. We thought, based on what we had thought before, we thought that he had kind of just like disappeared or whatever else he had escaped. But the government sent the comedian after him. I think that's probably what they're kind of alluding to.
And he was probably pleased to kill Hooded Justice, because Hooded Justice is the one who stopped him from sexually assaulting the original Silk Spectre. Remember, he's the one who stepped in and came to her aid. And Hooded Justice was the one who started the whole movement. Yeah, he was the original guy who put a mask on and went out doing vigilante stuff and inspired everybody else.
Yeah, so. And it's interesting also because he kind of talks about, Adrian talks about how he and Blake, the comedian, they did not like each other very much. They were kind of like opposite ends of, again, it's like this other kind of like opposite ends of evil to a certain extent. And then he kind of just starts wailing on Rorschach, saying that when he was talking to the comedian, he discussed nuclear war's inevitability, described my future role as smartest guy on the Cinder, and opened my eyes. Only the best comedians can accomplish that, right? So it's kind of like he obviously still hated him in the end, but he kind of reached this. Blake kind of helps him reach this really grim understanding of the world, which was kind of the way that Blake felt.
There's another crazy quote here where, and again, he's monologuing this while being attacked by Rorschach. And then this part's too, he said, I observed Blake over the years. You know what? He was in Dallas minding Nixon the day that Kennedy died. Nobody's sure why Nixon was there. Did you ever read JFK's intended speech? And then he quotes, we in this country, in this generation, are by destiny rather than choice, the watchmen on the walls of world freedom. Yeah. Which kind of is like, does that imply that the author, Alan Moore, named this book Watchmen out of the speech that JFK was meant to give on the day he was assassinated?
That's pretty interesting. That we should ask him.
Let's hit up our boy. Alan Moore. Yeah. Have you seen what he looks like in real life?
No.
He's like a wizard.
Is he really?
Yeah, just Google him right now. Anybody who's listening, just Google Alan Moore. He has master classes.
He is a wizard.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty dang cool.
I think he did like practice wizardry or some weird. He's a controversial guy.
That's pretty interesting.
But, also
religion and magic.
Absolute legend.
It does mention magic, literally in his
Wikipedia.
Yeah, and in his Wikipedia. That's pretty wild. He took as his primary deity the ancient Roman snake god Glycon.
What?
We're gonna have to read this. Maybe
we're gonna have him on the pod.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on the pod. In 1993, on his 40th birthday, Moore openly declared his dedication to being a ceremonial magician. Something he saw as a logical end step to my career as a writer.
Goat.
Logical. I agree. I completely agree.
He wrote one of the most famous Joker comics of all time.
Oh, really?
Like The Killing Joke, which was like the first time. I don't know about the first time. We should do an episode on that at some point.
We should.
But it was one of the first episodes where it's like the Joker does crazy stuff. Like he tortures people. It's like one of the first like really violent Joker things.
He tortures the guy who's
He tortures the daughter. He tortures the daughter of. Why am I blank? I'm not in Batman mental mode right now. What's Batman's police homie?
Oh my God!
How are we blanking on this? We're fake nerds.
No, I know I'm like imagining
the whole premise of The Killing Joke is
Gordon.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Right. The whole premise of The Killing Joke is that people are closer to going insane and going evil than we think.
Right.
And it's like all it takes is like one really bad day to like snap you and turn you. And he tries to turn Gordon evil by torturing his daughter, who I think is also Batwoman, question mark? I don't know.
I think we'll you're right about that. Yeah.
I actually haven't read it. I just know about it because it's so culturally.
I feel like that's also the one. I think he does torture the guy who's like Robin, I think. Too.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't Alan Moore. That's that's a crazy dude. Do you know about that? Oh, we're on a whole Batman tangent now, which we really can't do. But that is a crazy. Oh, but it's
the Joker who was written. That version of the Joker was done by Alan Moore.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. Like this little run of the Joker,
right?
Is Alan Moore?
Barbara Gordon, yeah, Batgirl. You're right.
Barbara Gordon. Yep. There you go.
Pretty wild. Maybe we'll also do
the thing you're talking about, the death of Robin. Okay, this is crazy. This is just
maybe
I'm going to cut all this out. But the crazy Robin thing is one of the other Robins that isn't the original Robin. I think his name is Jason Todd.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So he tortures Jason Todd to death, and there is
Jason that he never gives I've seen a bunch of things about this. How he always calls him Batman. He never calls him like Bruce or whatever else. Even when he's getting tortured until the end.
Right. But what's insane is they had a vote for all the readers. Should Robin live or die? And everyone in America wrote in their letters, all the Batman readers, of whether he should live or die. And die won, and they killed Jason Todd, and people were in shock, like disbelief. And it was and they killed him. And obviously, this was in a time where most of the
what a perfect thing for The Killing Joke, where people are so close to evil and whatever else.
And people were distraught. They didn't think that they would actually do it because most of the readers for this time were probably 12, 14-year-old boys or whatever reading Batman, and they killed Jason Todd. He ends up coming back because he's Red Hood. He's like the guy with the red mask and the guns. He pulls up with the guns.
Well, also,
anyways,
another crazy Joker is the Batman who laughs. You know that one?
Yeah. I know of it. I haven't read it.
Yeah, I haven't read it either, but that's just like such a crazy character design.
Crazy death metal, evil Joker Batman.
Yeah. Crazy.
There's a wide world of comics for us to explore and
we will.
About.
And we definitely will.
Stay tuned for Batman episode.
Yeah, because it's coming.
It's coming. All right, here we go. We're locking back in. Yep, facts. Dan and Rorschach are confronting Adrian. He is sort of clowning on him while he monologues about his evil plan. This goes on for a while. We see flashbacks to the fact that he had to kill the comedian. He had to kill Blake. Blake understood too. He knew my plan would succeed, though the scale terrified him. That's why nobody was able to discuss it. Yeah. So again, Adrian's plan really is to do this huge catastrophe disaster to unite the world against a threat that is so crazy.
Great use of color here too, where we see like Adrian is always shown in this like bright kind of light. All this stuff is shining off, and then when we see the moment where he kills the comedian, I mean, he looks like a horror character. The whole panel is basically red, and whatever else too.
Okay, here we go. I found some quotes here.
Yeah, give us some.
Obviously, they also reveal that. This is an interesting thing you picked up earlier. The whole plot of John giving everybody cancer, Dr. Manhattan giving everyone around him cancer, fake. Orchestrated by Adrian. Adrian managed to get all of the people. He managed to give cancer to radiate all the people that were close to Dr. Manhattan,
so that he could frame him later and send him to Mars.
Yeah, because he was like, I can't defeat him by any other means, so I need to have him have like some kind of mental break and like dip out of here.
And also,
and you were saying, I remember you were like, why would Dr. Manhattan, when we read it the first time, you were like, would he not know about this? Like, would he not know that he's giving everybody cancer around him? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I didn't say anything. I was like, you're right. It doesn't make sense.
So crazy.
And it's okay. So here's this quote. He says, unable to unite the world by conquest, Alexander's methods. Let's see. Unable to unite the world by conquest, Alexander's method, I would trick it, frighten it towards salvation with history's greatest practical joke. That's what upset the comedian when awareness of my scheme crashed in upon him. That's what upset the comedian when awareness of my scheme crashed in upon him. Professional jealousy. Rorschach says, Blake's murder, you confess it? And he says, confession implies penitence. I merely regret his accidental involvement. Returning from Nicaragua by air, he spotted a ship docking in an uncharted island. Suspecting of blah, 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 he investigated it. Yeah. But there's a part
Unlucky.
here. Unlucky for Blake. It did not work out well for him. But there's a part here where it says his idea to unite the world against a common cause was actually given to him by Blake during one of those meetings. Remember, there's a meeting with Metropolis, and Blake, the comedian, is sort of making light of all of it, and he burns down the map that Captain Metropolis had all these plans laid out on.
Right.
And that was sort of it says that's what inspired Adrian to go, you know what, he's right. Like we're kind of messing about in our silly costumes. Like, what can I do to really make a difference in the world on a global scale? Which is kind of messed up how they're all these freakazoids are like inspiring each other to greater and greater acts of craziness.
Yeah. I mean, also, you know what? Just thinking about that cancer thing with Dr. Manhattan, I'm also just like, maybe a question for everybody to think about too is why did that upset him so much?
Why did what upset him?
Why did him thinking that he maybe gave people cancer upset him so much? Why does he care?
Well, I think he just was that's a good question. I think he
should have just been like, damn, sucks.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that we've discussed, I think, pretty well during the Dr. Manhattan chapters, but his greatest flaw is he's a human. He has in some ways, the mind of a man that then all of a sudden is experiencing everything. But he's still, and he just can't really wrap his head around all of it. Like he gets overwhelmed. He has choice paralysis all the time.
That is true.
He's not, he sort of cares for people, but he also doesn't care for people. Yeah. But I think it's
probably hard being God.
Yeah.
And a person.
Right.
At the same time.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this all doesn't have to make perfect sense, but I think just having everybody in that thing freaking out and yelling at him and screaming at him all at once, and he's like,
too many frequencies.
Yeah, he's like, this is too much. I'm out of here. I'm dipping to Mars. Screw you guys. Why are you yelling at me?
Right. That's a good point. Anyway, so we get to the end of Adrian's monologue, and this is definitely one of like the bone chilling things. Well, first, he's saying like, my plan is to like basically kill half of New York.
Right.
And Dan's like, he's like, Adrian, you're not really going to kill half of New York. That you wouldn't do that. That's crazy. You're just talking a whole bunch of shit. And
Adrian, I'm sorry. You need help. I know this half of New York stuff is bullshit, but I'm still glad we got here before you got into a deeper mess. Christ, you seriously planned all this mad scientist stuff? I mean, when was this hopeless black fantasy supposed to happen? When were you planning to do it?
And he says, do it. Dan, I'm not a Republic serial villain. Do you seriously think I'd explain my master stroke if there remained the slightest chance of you affecting its outcome? I did it 35 minutes ago. Crazy. I remember reading that and I was like, oh my, this dude.
And we flip back through the pages and we see he just casually with him and his cat in the middle of the chapter, he says, there's no time like the present. And he just goes into a room and presses a button.
Yeah,
and now we know what that button was.
And then we see, this is the moment where it's kind of like it brings together all of our like side characters. We see all the people that we've kind of grown to know over this story see this bright white light, and they basically all just get evaporated at the end of this chapter.
And touchingly, as they look up and see, and they can all assume it's a nuclear bomb or something. We don't know exactly what. We just see their terrified faces. But look, the two Bernards, the
older one, he tries to protect the kid. He like grabs and kind of turns his back to them.
He follows him. They're embracing. It's like it's kind of. It reminds me of the bodies they find in Pompeii,
right?
Where they're people holding
like
on to each other.
Yeah, or like the same kind of thing where they talk about the nuclear shadow. Right, they also point out this earlier in this, and I think it actually
it's graffiti of the two people embracing that someone keeps spray painting around in the city.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then what's the final quote we get here?
Quote: My name is Osmandius, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Yeah. Ozymandias nuked New York effectively, except he didn't actually nuke it. To be clear, what he did was bioengineer a crazy giant squid alien and teleport it to New York through some kind of crazy nuclear means, and knowing that the side effect of teleporting
is it dying and like exploding.
Yeah. Like it creates some kind of like crazy blast. Maybe we haven't done the best job. This is a very difficult chapter to try to parse and explain, because it's all these different storylines overlapping at different times, all these different monologues. But yeah, effectively and that's what he was doing with those artists and everything, because his plan is to frighten the world against a common enemy. He's effectively nuking half of New York, but he's making it seem as if it's an extraterrestrial threat from this crazy alien squid monster, which sounds so ridiculous.
Does sound ridiculous.
It's so crazy.
And that's kind of the point, right?
Right.
Is that it is ridiculous.
It's insane. It's absolutely, it's just wild. It's so weird. And again, reminder, in this world, up until this point, there are actually no supernatural elements save for Dr. Manhattan. Everybody else are just humans running around in spandex, and government operatives and whatnot. And here, all of a sudden, New York is this seemingly giant alien squid that popped up and killed half the city. Which is what? Like, what's half the population in New York?
When they say, at least in this, it's like 3 million or more people, something like that.
Millions of deaths.
Millions and millions, all in one go, which is pretty unbelievable. But so that's the end of this chapter here. We get an interesting little interview with Adrian at the end of this chapter.
After the masquerade.
After the masquerade. Tell us about the masquerade.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just it's a excerpt from this interview with Ozymandias, we just get further insight into his psyche.
I forgot it was even
what
after the masquerade. For some reason, I thought you were saying something, but that's the name of the interview.
Oh yeah, the name of the interview is asked. It's super style and the art of humanoid watching. What's funny is the guy who's interviewing him is just basically like fawning over Ozymandias the whole time. Like he says when he arrives, he's doing some kind of like amazing gymnastic performance and makes a cocaine joke to him, like, "Oh, this isn't the kind of snow you know about in L.A."
Right.
He's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it! The smartest man in the world is making cocaine jokes. Like he's the best."
Yeah. He also talks about how Ozymandias calls people humanoids,
right?
Which is pretty interesting as well.
Right. There he is above me, the man, Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias. We don't call him that anymore, do we? He basically says, the mask is gone, but he loops on the high bar in slow, graceful centrifuge. He still wears his golden leotard in the headband. Every girlfriend I had in the past 4 years wanted to lay this guy more than Jagger, more than Springsteen.
Right.
It's basically just showing how everybody is obsessed with this guy and what an icon he is. And
one kind of funny thing that comes out of this is like not even like fully related to the story, but he points out when he asks him about music, right, which I thought was kind of funny. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm half Jamaican, but he points out that one of his like really interesting things that he's into right now is Jamaican dub music,
right,
which is pretty wild. Yeah, crazy.
Let's see. He says, changing the subject entirely, do you listen to much music? I wonder what your taste might be as a superhero. He says, I like electronic music. That's a very superhero thing to like, I suppose, isn't it? I like avant-garde music in general.
He said, I've heard some interesting new music from Jamaica, sort of hybrid between electronic music and reggae. And he goes on to say, it's called dub music. You'd like it, I'm sure. Which is just so funny.
The dude is like, he is cooking. Like
he is cooking a little bit in this interview.
Yeah, he's aware. It's like, but again, shows us he's watching all the screens. Like this guy is making these plans. Like he sees it as just him in the world, and he's measuring himself against the greatest icons in human history, like the greatest Egyptian pharaohs, Alexander the Great.
Right.
He really, in his own twisted way, is trying to save the world.
Right.
He's trying to stop war. He's trying to stop us squabbling. He's trying to stop us being on the brink of nuclear Armageddon.
Right.
Just the way he's decided to do it is to kill millions of people and force everybody to unite against
what they think is
threat.
like an alien invasion type of
Which,
situation.
I mean, let's think about that in real life. Like, do you think that would actually work? Like right now, there's always people talking about, we're going to reveal the aliens or whatever. But let's say if an alien really pulled up, it would.
Well, if it pulled up and killed a whole bunch of people, I do think that people probably would they would just be like, damn, there's some, it's about to get crazy right now. I think that there would probably be some infight. I mean, it's not going to be like, a perfect world or whatever else. I think there's probably going to be some infighting, and especially if there's like time between, like in this situation, it's like, okay, the aliens attack. I mean, actually, we'll get into this a little bit more, so I'll wait on this kind of point too. But I think yes and no.
Right.
Which
I mean, effectively, it's like, I mean, I guess, honestly, what would be the biggest dub for the world is if China and America like somehow united. Like we're just out here
let's just
beefing.
do good science.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. What if America and China were just like, actually, you know what? Let's like benefit each other economically and
work together to make the world a better place.
To solve climate change and all that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
what a world.
Yeah, but it won't. It won't because we don't have anything to unite against.
What about climate change?
Yeah, that's really. Oh no, but that's fake, bro. I'm a skeptic. I saw some stuff on Facebook that said that that's all made up. So
AI generated. But anyway, so that's the end of our chapter 11 here. Pretty unbelievable. And this, I mean, we're seeing this clock get closer to midnight. The blood's almost all the way there. And now we get to chapter 12, issue 12, A Stronger, Loving World. This last chapter, right off the rip, shows the full impact of Adrian's plan. Massive attack has already taken place in New York, killing millions of people. It's this gigantic alien thing, so the world believes it's the work of an alien entity, which is just what Adrian wanted to happen. Dr. Manhattan shows up with Lori, and he ends up confronting Adrian, but he ends up agreeing with Adrian, basically being like, we can't say anything now, because if we say something now, then the world's just going to fall right back into turmoil. If they realize that there's no alien attack, then it just goes back to what it was before, and 3 million people are dead. We end up seeing that Dan and Lori and Dr. Manhattan, they all agree to say like, okay, like we can't do anything now. We just got to keep this a secret. Rorschach says, no, I'm sticking to my guns. He leaves the base. Dr. Manhattan confronts him. It's a whole thing there.
Yeah, we'll maybe save that for save that for punchline what goes down. But.
But the story seems to end
kind of awkwardly,
vaguely positive.
Yeah, I don't mean awkwardly in a negative way. Yeah, sorry. It's an ambiguous ending.
It is an ambiguous ending.
Open to interpretation in some ways, and we never quite know what actually goes down.
Yeah. All right. If you're reading along, which at the very least I would advise you to for this last chapter, because the art off rip, I wrote this down. There's like 6 pages back to back, no dialogue, just the absolute unbelievably destructive aftermath of Adrian's plan. You've got like tentacles like going everywhere. There's just people littered across the streets. There's blood everywhere. It's unbelievable.
Their equivalent of Madison Square Garden, destroyed. Yeah, corpses. The closest thing, honestly, is like crazy images out of Japan post nuclear explosion.
Right, and you also have the graffiti of the on I guess art page 387, but of the 2 people embracing kind of during that nuclear blast.
Right. And we see this giant crazy squid thing, which just looks horrifying and totally alien. Like it doesn't really
also Adrian on the Institute for Spatial Studies. Little on the nose, don't you think, Adrian? But
yeah,
it is what it is.
The only other time we saw this creature was in that painting of it. Yeah. We see that the design of the creature was what that woman on the island was painting. And you were like confused what that looked like. And then it was, we were supposed to not be able to really tell what it was, but now we can recognize that what she was painting was this terrifying, horrible, skyscraper-sized squid monster. Which is obviously they artificially created somehow. But
they use it was like the brain of like a psychic, and they use like the writers, like Max Shea, the guy who wrote the pirate story. They use like his descriptions and the drawing. It's like basically bringing all these like great minds of the world together to create this thing,
to craft this narrative that people would buy. That was the whole thing. Is like how do we actually trick all of the world into thinking there was a extraterrestrial apocalypse?
Right. And so here's I don't know if this will end up making it in, but one thing that didn't make it into one of the other episodes was me talking about how this creature kind of looks like a vagina. I'm coming back to that a little bit, and maybe this will make it in, maybe it won't. But are we not thinking like birth of like a new world? Does that imagery maybe
you're cooking? Yeah, the monster is it's gross. I mean, it's horrifying and gross, and definitely has some kind of like genital situation going on.
Maybe this will make it in, but
you could say that, man. I don't think it's too much of a stretch, honestly. I think you're right. It is the. I mean, this is Adrian, like the birth of this new world.
Yeah. So we'll see.
It's wild. You guys got to check out this imagery.
Please go read this. Do whatever you got to do to see these panels. But so we get Laurie and Dr. Manhattan appearing right in the middle of this.
Right. They're teleporting back from Mars because Laurie, in a couple chapters ago, successfully convinced him to come back to Earth to save everybody from nuclear apocalypse that they think is about to happen.
A little late.
Yeah, and they pulled up late. And Dr. Manhattan, again, is confused. He assumed they were going to teleport back earlier, but
he's kind of like, this whole event is kind of like frazzling, which is kind of interesting, him being like a god, but it's kind of like frazzling the way he sees like time and stuff like that.
Yeah, he says it's tachyons.
Yep.
There's like this. There's clouds of tachyons that have been obscuring his.
His vision. We'll end up learning that. I'm pretty sure Adrian planned it that way as well, kind of knowing. And so Laurie's like, all right, this is like too
horrified.
much. Yeah.
She's like, get me out of here. He's
literally get me out of here.
He's looking around calmly, logically, obviously he's piecing together what's happening. And Laurie's like, can I not be in the middle of
and he's like,
millions of corpses right now?
He's like, this must be a distressing time for you.
Great. Oh, of course. My bad. You probably don't want to be surrounded by dead Manhattan. Not Dr. Manhattan, like dead, actual Manhattan.
Right, literally Manhattan, the city. Pretty unbelievable. We
back
go back
to Adrian. Yeah,
Adrian talking to Dan and Rorschach, and Dan still doesn't believe him.
He's just like,
no way, dude. You did not do this.
He's like,
Rorschach is the one who picks up and he's like, no, telling the truth, listen to his voice, he did it. And Rorschach, Dan's saying, Rorschach, he's kidding, his story's full of holes. Adrian, your assassination attempt, you couldn't have planned it. What if he'd shot you first? And then kind of a little bit of
shot you first
foreshadowing.
instead of your secretary, right?
And then Adrian says, I suppose I'd have to catch the bullet, wouldn't I? Kind of smiling.
Smugly,
very
and Dan's
smugly.
like, dude, that's crazy. You couldn't really do that.
And he's like, I don't know.
Just cut to his face.
No, I couldn't. I could. Maybe I couldn't. I don't know. But then he kills half of New York. And then so this is one of the points where he points out the psychic was the key. Poor young Robert Discanes. I thought that I was wondering if this was like a real person. I looked it up. It's not. It's just part of this story. Yeah. I acquired.
So
his
there's
brain
no truth to the psychic squid brain myth.
I don't. As far as I know, I don't think so.
This is really the part of the story where it just gets everything else up until giant squid apocalypse is like so grounded, or I mean more or less. Obviously, we were on Mars with Dr. Manhattan, but Dr. Manhattan aside. Very grounded story, and now here we are, like,
and now we're getting to
talking about psychic squid.
And so, he ends up saying that he kind of cloned this guy's brain to make it much bigger and more powerful, incorporating it into the creature. The brain was a psychic resonator; it would amplify a signal pulse and broadcast it, the signal triggered by the onset of death. And so then he goes on talking about, we incorporated all these different people's ideas and things like that into this. And he says, other than those outright killed by the shock, many will be driven mad by the sudden flood of grotesque sensation. So this is like really not even supposed to just only kill people. It's supposed to just destroy even the people who survive.
Right. It's going to just absolutely freak him out. Yeah. No one will doubt this earth has met a force so dreadful. It must be repelled. Mm-hmm. All former enmities aside, no one will know those are involved are all dead, killed by killers who killed each other. A lethal pyramid. So it's basically like, damn, he did it. His whole plan just happened.
Everything worked like perfectly. And then we get Dr. Manhattan and Laurie appearing outside. Again, Dr. Manhattan's still trying to just like figure out exactly what's going on. Saying, since tachyons only affect me, he obviously anticipated my possible discovery of this plot. And Laurie's like, man, what the hell's going on? This is all crazy. And then what's even wilder is like, Dr. Manhattan also just like goes inside and leaves her out there. But we also get this interesting thing showing how much Dr. Manhattan's glitching as he starts having this. He says some stuff to her. He says, I'm sorry, it's these tachyons. They're mudding things up. he says before, he says, yes, he killed Blake and Hafner. Excuse me, Rorschach. I'm informing Laurie 90 seconds ago. I'm sorry. It's these tachyons. They're muddling things up. I'd better follow him inside. So again, we're seeing that like Dr. Manhattan's getting messed up a bit by everything that's going on.
He can't even follow where he is. He's talking to Laurie from the future.
And we've seen him before able to really easily handle kind of being two different people at once, like whatever else. But this is switching him up. But so she...
And everyone realizes too. I mean, he pulls up and Dan is like, where's Laurie? John, are you okay? You seem sort of, I don't know, drugged or something. So he is appearing like inebriated, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see him kind of say that sentence again towards Rorschach. I'm sorry, these tachyons are mudding things up. And then Dr. Manhattan's following Adrian. Adrian like runs off to like another room, and Dr. Manhattan's following, and we see him kind of walk into what looks like this kind of like contraption thing. And we see...
Following the cat, I think.
Yeah, he's following like the cat going after Adrian. And then Adrian says, Bubastis, forgive me. And then he flips the switch, and we see Dr. Manhattan and the cat thing, Bubastis, get absolutely fried.
Yeah. Vaporized.
And Adrian's like, you know what? I honestly wasn't even sure that was going to work. But it did. And so we see Dr. Manhattan absolutely get blasted away. And he was saying that the tachyons, it made it possible to give him something he wasn't expecting. And then we see a crazy moment, Laurie jumping out.
Right.
She's got a gun.
Got a gun. Sometimes you need a gun.
Sometimes you need a gun. And she says, Adrian, you're an asshole. And he's like, ah. And then she shoots him, great kind of like, almost like sci-fi looking panel with her shooting him. But we see him lying on the ground. There's blood. And then we flip to the next page, his fist's on the ground, and he opens his fist that's covered in blood. And what's there, Ben?
Bullet. He caught the bullet.
He caught the bullet. And she's like, oh, shit. And then he kicks her in the stomach. Also, this is one of these moments where like Dan kind of just seems like a wuss to me.
Well, he's just thrown. I mean, we had Dan. Dan was killing it, and now he's just like he does not know what's going on.
Yeah.
He's still in his snowsuit. He's in his like snowy owl. Like,
right, snowy owl. But then Adrian just like flexes on it, right? Because like Adrian kicks her, and then he's like, Veidt, you bastard. Or Veidt, what is it? Veidt?
Yeah, Veidt. Veidt, you bastard. Yeah.
If you've heard her all, oh, Daniel, please do grow up. Right? And just like, again, this is his narcissism showing again.
My new world demands less obvious heroism. Make your schoolboy... Okay, he says... My new world demands less obvious heroism, making your schoolboy heroics redundant. What have they achieved? Failing to prevent Earth's salvation is your only triumph. And yet that failure overshadows every past success. By defeat, you usher in an age of illumination so dazzling that humanity will reject the darkness in its heart and turn instead towards the...
And then we see a gigantic Dr. Manhattan basically bust through the side of Adrian's compound, and Adrian was not expecting this. He's yelling, he's screaming, everything's getting knocked away. And this was a moment that made me think that Dr. Manhattan was actually going to like kind of be that guy. He was like, I am disappointed, Veidt, very disappointed. And then he goes on just saying like, restructuring myself after getting basically vaporized. That was my first day out, baby. Like, I learned how to do that a long time ago. Right. That's how I got here.
That's his origin, getting vaporized and putting himself back together.
And then he also, I think, says something that definitely would upset
I've walked across
Adrian.
the sun. I've seen events so tiny and vast they hardly can be said to have occurred at all. But you're a man. The world's smartest man means no more to me than does the smartest termite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Adrian pulls up. He says, "What's that in your hand, Veidt? Another ultimate weapon." And Adrian turns on all the TVs, and you start hearing. And this is a great kind of like speech bubble moment where all of the different dialogue from all these different news channels are overlapping each other. You're seeing millions of people dead.
Of screens.
World leaders are responding to the tragedy. Russia's pulling out of Afghanistan. They're offering help to the U.S. Over 2 million, over 3 million. And then you see Adrian start like crying, looking at the screens, and he says, "I did it." And then he raises his hands above his head and he's yelling, "I did it!"
And he's framed in front of that huge painting of Alexander the Great. So it's really this like triumphant moment where he kind of pulled it off. It seems like the world is reacting the way he assumed they would.
Yep.
Immediate end to all hostilities until we've evaluated this new threat. Everyone's in complete confusion. An immediate summit in Geneva. An end to the war in Afghanistan. It says 3 million people dead in New York. End of the war. Yeah,
and then
it's working.
And then Adrian shows another part of this moment where he basically says that they're like, we got to tell somebody. I think is it Laurie maybe that even mentions this. You can't get away with that. And then Adrian says, all the countries are unified and pacified. Can't get away with it. Will you expose me, undoing the peace millions died for? Kill me, risking subsequent investigation. Morally, you're in checkmate. Like, Blake, let's compromise. And she's like, what? And then Dr. Manhattan says, yeah, basically he's right. Logically, we can't say anything or the world will be worse off than it was before.
Right. On Mars, you demonstrated life's value. If we would preserve life here, we must remain silent. And Laurie's crying. They're all crying. Dan is lost in thought. Rorschach is standing there like a freak in the background.
As he does.
Yeah, as he does. And she says, never tell anyone. Jesus, he was right. All we did is just fail to stop him from saving Earth. How many humans can make a decision like this?
Yeah, how can humans make decisions like this? We were damned if we stay quiet. Earth's damned if we don't. Okay. And then Dan says, okay, count me in. We say nothing. And Rorschach says, joking, of course. And then Rorschach ends up leaving. Dan's yelling after him, where are you going? This is too big to be hard asked about. We have to compromise. And Rorschach says, I think one of the realest things in this, he says, no, not even in the face of Armageddon, never compromise. Yeah. I don't know, man. Rorschach, it's a man with his flaws, but serious conviction.
And freaking Ozymandias is just rubbing his chin, making jokes about it. He's like, what would we call that, I wonder? Blotting out reality, perhaps?
This is a great way. That's probably how he said it, too.
Because it's the ink blot test,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Those Rorschach tests. Yeah. And so, he ends up saying that, Rorschach is not a reliable witness. It's not that big of a deal. Now I shall meditate in my orrery. And then he's just telling them, you can make yourselves at home, whatever else to Dan and Laurie. But he says the both of you. And then Dan's like, both? And then Laurie, they look around and Dr. Manhattan's already disappeared. And Laurie and Dan kind of walk off and they're just being like, where'd everybody go? And then Laurie starts talking about being in New York and seeing the carnage that's there and just saying, everybody was dead. I can't imagine this. We're out of our depth. There were people that just stepped out the Gunga diner, that pink and yellow rice. It was spilled. And I keep wanting to cry, but my throat, it's not big enough. Dan, can we sit down? Sure, Laurie, listen, about us. Do you think John, also like, who are you, Dan? Like right now, bro? Like we're crying about like the end of the world. And he's like, but what about us? Right. But she says, it doesn't matter after New York. Nothing matters. That's what I'm trying to say. Dan, please, I need you to sit with me. I need you. He says, I need you too. No, I mean, I need you. I need you now, Dan. All those people, they're dead. They can't disagree or eat Indian food or love each other. It's sweet being alive. And this basically ends up with Dan and Laurie. And I wasn't even thinking about the nostalgia thing, but one of the things that she says, here, take these, goggles off. I want to see you and taste you and smell you just because I can. What is that, Dan? What's that you smell of? And he says, nostalgia. And then we get this, one of my favorite panel transitions here too. We see Laurie and Dan, their shadows against this. They're in like this room with a pool, but we see their shadows imprinted against the wall based on the lighting. And then it flips to Rorschach, which interesting enough is also similar to his it's like his like feared nightmare stuff of being like
people
a kid.
Embracing. He's terrified of people embracing and connecting. His face mask, the Rorschach symbol looks like two people embracing.
Like two people embracing.
Before we jump to Rorschach, let's just take a second and let's unpack the Dan and Laurie's response here.
Yes.
How do we feel about it? I mean, in one way, I feel like it's I think what Alan Moore is trying to have us consider here is like, how do we respond to just insane tragedy immediately after? Because everyone, like, there's not really like a right way to do it. And I guess it's like, it's one, it's not an invalid takeaway for them to go, oh man, millions of people just died. We couldn't do anything about it. Let's just appreciate each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think Laurie's like a lot of the stuff that she says here, which is like, I just like just to experience this moment because we can. I just experienced what I now learn as like over 3 million people who will never experience love, connection, feeling each other. I mean, sex in itself is like, as much as Rorschach and others may not acknowledge it, is a very integral, I mean, for a million different reasons, part of the human experience.
Yeah, mammal experience, bro.
Yeah.
It's like it's part of the deal.
It is part of the deal for sure.
But yeah, I mean, it is you know, in the face of apocalypse or whatever, you can just sort of embrace your relationships. I feel like that's not necessarily an invalid
not at all.
Takeaway. So. You know.
Yeah, and I was just like. I just thought it was funny that Dan was like, "Do you think John's cool with us like hanging out?" You know,
right?
Else.
He's really Dan. He's a funny. I don't know. He did go from like the past couple chapters seeming like he's on such a arc of like reclaiming his power and his drive and aptitude and all this stuff, and then it just ended up like it just wasn't enough. Like he and Rorschach solved the mystery and they pulled up on Adrian, and he
folds.
Yeah, and Adrian like just beats him up and monologues at him, and he's like, "I literally did this half an hour ago, and you guys are
like shit, man. All right,
yeah." And not only that, you guys can't even like do anything to it because guess what? I just made world peace, and if you guys want to
mess up world peace, that's on you.
That's on you. You want to mess up? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's crazy. This
is absolutely crazy.
So much happens in these last two chapters. It is dense. It's such a dense jumble. The pacing, I feel like, not criticism again is too strong a word, but it is. I think the pacing in the vast majority of this book, things are sort of building slowly.
We're really like setting up for these moments.
And now it does, and it does feel like there's a lot of monologuing. The end is very, it's not like there's some big drawn out battle. It's kind of like...
Yeah, the battle's over.
It's like New York gets nuked in an instant. And then most of the final...
comic situation too. Right. No drawn out battle.
Right. There's no battle. Basically Manhattan gets nuked. I mean, giant squidded, but
giant squid nuked.
Gets giant squid nuked. And then most of the whole finale is our main protagonists just having difficult conversations about how to wrap their heads around the fact that the main villain may have literally created world peace by killing 3 million people. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
All right, so time for another tragedy.
Truly.
What? We're cutting to Rorschach.
Yeah. Rorschach's outside.
Talk us through this.
So Rorschach is outside. He's walking away towards the Owlmobile, the owl ship, and we see Dr. Manhattan John's outside. And he says, "Where are you going?" Rorschach says, "Back to Owl ship, back to America. Evil must be punished. People must be told." And John says, "Rorschach," and he's pointing his hand at him and says, "I can't let you do that." And we get this is another moment where we get Rorschach's real emotions at the end of this story. And Rorschach says, of course, must protect Veidt's new utopia. One more body against foundations makes a little difference. Well, what are you waiting for? Do it. And John says, Rorschach. And then Rorschach, with tears streaming down his face, screams at Dr. Manhattan, do it. And Dr. Manhattan literally just vaporizes him. He kind of like blows him up.
Yeah, blood all over the snow.
And just smoke. And that's literally the end of Rorschach in that moment. And again, it like leaves you, we'll talk about this when we get to the end of this, but it's like, it's so, it leaves me at the very least like conflicted, because it's like he was such a controversial figure for a lot of different reasons, but he was the only one who stuck to his code in the end.
Right.
Pretty wild.
I think part of it that's crazy too is it's not just like he's like, running off into the distance and Dr. Manhattan has to stop him. He kind of, in some ways, this is a little bit of a suicide, because he's like, he can't exist in this world. Like, this is really, his code won't allow him to let Ozymandias get away with this. He feels like he has to give away the truth, but then also he doesn't want to, obviously Rorschach is ultimately on the side of world peace, probably. Yeah. He knows, it's like, what's he going to do? He's in this crazy position because if he goes by his code and tries to, again, punish evil, like he probably feels absolutely overwhelming urge to punish Ozymandias for having just caused the death of 3 million people, while also realizing that if he does so, it's gonna
cause
more turmoil.
And also we get this, I'm wondering also how much this is Rorschach versus Walter Kovacs, because we get him in this moment. He takes off his mask. Like, his whole thing has always been like, the real me is Rorschach, the real me. And in his last moment, he takes off the mask.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. What do you think? That's a really interesting point. He doesn't want to die with his mask on. Yeah. I don't know. Or is that maybe him giving up? Like, that's kind of the suicide, is when he takes his mask off.
That's Rorschach, like, the end of Rorschach.
He's like, all right, I'm out. Like, the end of Rorschach. He's the one choosing it. And then he's like, end me. You know? It's tragic.
It's tragic. And
it's
also
crazy how
it's so fast.
It's like one page.
Yeah.
It's literally one page. And you can see Dr. Manhattan doesn't want to do it. He's like, Rorschach is screaming at him to do it, and he says, Rorschach with ... Like, he doesn't.
There's part of him that I feel like is hoping that Rorschach would change his mind, but
right?
He knows that he won't. So we have Dr. Manhattan after that, casually strolling back inside to see Laurie and Dan wrapped up together
on the floor, which is crazy. Did they really have sex?
They definitely did. They absolutely did. There's boots and capes and whatever else, like strewn across the floor. But then we have this interesting moment where Dr. Manhattan, for the first time in a long time, or even that we really maybe even seen, shows emotion.
Smiles.
And he smiles, seeing them there. And then we get this.
And they're all naked also, which is kind of funny. Dr. Manhattan is...
Oh, this is your green. This is also your green. Don't forget to bring up your green of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. They're all... Yeah. Dr. Manhattan is naked, as he usually is, which is funny. Dan and Laurie are also naked on the floor, asleep, like embracing each other, which is a wild place to be, like this naked and vulnerable in the lair.
Sleep is crazy.
Yeah, it's like, bro, they couldn't. Yeah, wild. But yeah, what's the guy's name? Higgins.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
bro.
I think John Higgins.
John Higgins. Yeah, they because of the ominous lighting and everything. Again, they're just in a room, probably like a marble room, and that could be drawn.
Adrian, I'm sure
very
it's marble.
plainly, yeah, but it's instead everything is all of the reflections of this like lighting, and the their skin color looks green. I mean, it's not green. Their skin color is normal color. Dr. Manhattan is blue, but in the color choice they're using, they look green.
It's also interesting, now that you point that out, the fact that they're green, but Dr. Manhattan's hue does not change at all.
Yeah, he's just always blue.
He's just always blue. But so then we get this Jesus moment of Dr. Manhattan walking across water away from them. Then he just walks straight up the wall, walks into the room where Ozymandias is, and he just says, hello, John.
Where Ozymandias is meditating, like meditating. A prick. He's like, oh, cool, I did it. I killed 3 million people. I saved the whole world. Time for me to go meditate.
Yeah, just sit down and do whatever I want to do. He says, hello, John. I was hoping we'd have a chance to talk. And it's interesting, he ends up saying, I know people think me callous, but I've made myself feel every death. By day, I imagine endless faces. By night, well, I dream about swimming towards a hideous... No, never mind. It isn't significant.
Whoa.
Yeah. Is
the pirate.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until now. Wow. I wanted to talk about this because I was like, what is he swimming towards? But you're so right. You're so right.
He's swimming towards the Black Freighter.
He is the pirate. Wow.
That's the story. It's awesome because he starts out, okay, this is it.
All right, oh my God. Break it down.
Oh, this is crazy. Okay. Bro, the Black Freighter guy starts out with good intentions.
Yes.
He starts out, wanting to just help his crew, save his crew. And then he goes through on this mission single-mindedly willing to do anything it takes in order to achieve his goal. And then by the end has become a monster, right? And that's Adrian.
That's Adrian.
He's
for
become
sure.
a monster with good causes in mind, and it is crazy him saying like, "Oh no, you might think me callous." Like, no, I do know that I killed 3 million people. I don't feel good about it. I dream about the faces of all these people that I've just killed, but I know it's my move.
Yeah.
So.
He said, what's significant is that I know I've struggled across the backs of murdered innocents to save humanity, but someone had to take the weight of that awful necessary crime. I'd hope you'd understand, unlike Rorschach. And I mean, this is when John, I don't know if it's like he's pissing me off a little bit, but he's just like so callous in this moment where he's like, says, you needn't worry about Rorschach. I strongly doubt he'll reach civilization. But yes, I understand without condoning or condemning, human affairs cannot be my concern. I'm leaving this galaxy for one less complicated. I mean, this whole, I might just read this whole thing because it's just so,
please do.
to the point of this. But, and then Adrian says, but you regained interest in human life. And John says, yes, I think perhaps I'll create some. Goodbye, Adrian. And then Adrian says, that's also interesting. I'm like,
I'll create some. He's just going to go literally be a god for a new world. He's like, I'm just going to go make a new world.
Yeah, I'm also just now, for some reason, I mean, I guess I always knew that they were blue, but yeah, I mean, John's speech bubbles are always blue. Perhaps I'll create some. And then Adrian says, John, wait, before you leave, this is so interesting about, I mean, narcissists in general, but about Adrian in this moment. He says, before you leave, I did the right thing, didn't I? It all worked out in the end. And this is such a great ending quote for Dr. Manhattan, but he says, in the end, nothing ends, Adrian. Nothing ever ends. And then Adrian says, John, wait, what do you mean by that? And then John disappears forever. Then we see Adrian.
Which is, that's actually, sad. That's kind of a dub, because he just injected doubt into Adrian's mind. Because Adrian, this is the first time where we see him not completely in control. He's like, John, wait, what do you know?
Yeah, what do you mean? Right.
What do you mean? Never ends. I did it. I just saved everybody. Right?
And this is what, kind of to answer your question earlier about like, if this did happen, like, does it really save everything? And I think that Dr. Manhattan's right, where it's like, for now, people will find a way to fight again. Don't you worry. Like, it's
tough.
We have these
incremental,
Yeah. And that's the end of our, like, I feel like the big part of the story right there. And then we get this.
Now then it's kind of like a little epilogue, honestly.
Yeah, a little epilogue for sure. Where we see Sally Jupiter. That's
also we should. Sorry, you just said Jupiter, and also we should this thing that Ozymandias is meditating on. Well, for one thing, he's on like a Egyptian structure, so he's when he's meditating, he himself looks like a statue of a pharaoh or something, right? Which
I'm sure that's exactly what he's going for.
But in front of him is this like insane glass orb. So this conversation, and it's a model of the galaxy. Look, it's all the planets with the sun.
Yeah.
So he's like looking at the universe in meditation on his Egyptian, pyramid, and him and John are having this conversation across from this diorama of the universe.
Yeah, that's the orrery, a mechanical model that depicts the heliocentric solar system.
There you go.
Yeah,
cooking. And this last shot, kind of the last shot of the story, is Ozymandias looking back at that model of the universe. I don't know if he has regret, but in
uncertainty. At least enough that we can see a little bit of uncertainty in him.
But it shows that what he's looking at is cosmic scale. Like, he really is always thinking about things on this huge, crazy macro. And it's just me in the world, is what he said at the end of the previous chapter. Yeah. And I don't know. It just is it's a really weird, somber ending to the narrative, really.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Now we get into our epilogue, which is interesting. We see Sally Jupiter. She's coming to the door in her assisted living facility. She's like, hold on, I'm coming over there, or whatever else.
It's Christmas. There's a Christmas.
It is Christmas. You're right. And then all these things, peace on earth, happy, happy, happy. Everybody's having a good time. It's great. Oh, that's right.
She's got some visitors.
Yeah, she's got some visitors, and they're two blonde people. And we're like, who the hell are these blonde people? We don't even know any blonde people, pretty much, except for Adrian, realistically. But so they come in and they say, the helper at the facility says, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Hollis are here to see you." And I think Sally, once she sees their faces, she's like, "Oh, yeah, come on inside. We'll head in. Thanks so much for bringing them over." And what she basically ends up realizing is that apparently they've been kind of in hiding for a little while, but Sally Jupiter's like, Jesus, what the hell are you trying to do? You're trying to kill your mother with a heart attack. I thought you were dead. And we end up figuring out is that these two blonde people are Lori and Dan.
Right. But they're in a disguise.
They're a disguise now. They're older.
Some time has passed, I guess.
Some time has passed.
But I think you're right. I think it is they do. I mean, Dan especially looks.
He's a whole different guy.
He looks like a different guy. It's a bit odd, but yeah, time has passed and they have dyed blonde hair. But yeah, so I guess they're in some kind of like a witness protection program. Or something.
That kind of thing.
And they're catching up.
Yeah, and Lori, the kind of like main thing of this is that Lori ends up talking to her mom and basically saying, you know, I found out who my dad is, who's the comedian. And her mom, you know, Sally Jupiter is basically just like, you know, I'm sorry, like I didn't want you to find out like this. I should have told you, all these different things like that. And Lori just says, you know, I understand, like
I tried to be angry, but I mean, I never wanted you to know. I should have told you, but I don't know. I just feel ashamed. I felt stupid. Which again is like from that chapter where we had the conversation about her relationship with the comedian. It was like part of the weird tragedy of that situation was that she ended up having a relationship with him after the fact and feeling so complicated and conflicted about the fact that that even happened in the first place. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like,
it's like one of the most like, you know, one of these truly, truly complex, unbelievably complex emotional states to be in and things to experience in life. And, you know, Lori kind of reassures her, basically saying, you know, it's, I understand why you didn't tell me. I kind of like hold nothing against you. I think she says,
people's lives take them strange places.
Yep.
They do strange things. And well, sometimes they can't talk about them. I know how that is. I love you, Mom, and you never did anything wrong by me.
Right.
So it's like this real moment of forgiveness between
forgiveness and understanding. And Lori and Dan end up kind of wrapping it up there, and they say that they got to head out. You know, they talk, it's funny. I mean, her mom's, you know, saying like, don't wait too long to have children, you know, whatever else. And they, you know, Lori and Dan are kind of joking about having kids, and Lori's saying, oh, you know, children forget it. Not yet. You were talking about adventuring, and I'm not staying home changing diapers. So Dan is still like, he's like, I'm about to owl it up, baby.
Yeah, he's like,
you don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Night Owl, Assault Spectre.
Yeah.
And Lori's saying that she maybe ought to carry a gun. But then we get this, you know, last moment with Sally Jupiter where she closed the blinds. She looks at this image and this photo and kisses it. And we see that she's kissed this photo, leaving a red lipstick stain on the part that has the comedian in it. And she's crying. She's crying. I mean, again, this is like some of the most complex emotions that probably exist in part of this human experience. And then we get the real end to the story, the epilogue to the epilogue,
right.
Which is this, we see New York kind of, I guess, having been, or in the process of being rebuilt. And there's a lot of Russian all over New York, which is pretty interesting, off the top of this. And
right. 'Cause hey, guess what? Like we were just talking about, Russia, China, America, they're united. Yep. Common front.
We also see RR to run in 88. They call him something else in this, but they're obviously referencing Ronald Reagan, which the guy this ends up basically we see another, before I get to this, but we see one world, one accord. Somebody's putting up a poster that's, you know, the world has come together, right, to fight against what they thought was this alien thing. We see this big poster. This is the time, these are the feelings, millennium, which Ben and I realized earlier is a reference to one of the things that Ozymandias was talking about in those ads, or with his marketing team earlier, was this new brand that would come about when peacetime came, which was called Millennium.
So they're already ready. The business, they're like,
ready.
Okay, we saved the world. We did a New York apocalypse, and now we're ready to market. We're ready to market the brand of what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but we see this, the young kind of like intern guy from the Frontiersman coming back in with burgers, and his boss is yelling at him. He says something crazy. He says, Seymour Christ, I don't know, 3 million New Yorkers died and you weren't one of them. Pretty insane. But he's like, you know, I had to go to Burgers and Boar, and then he basically ends up yelling at him and saying, you know, I'll eat the burgers from this place, but I won't have Russian spoken in this office. And then he kind of goes on talking about how the column, the main guy talks about how his column that he was going to write, you know, nobody can say anything bad about the Russians now, so he can't write the column. And he basically tells the intern guy to go look in the crank file to look through and just grab some stuff. He's like, which piece should I run? And the guy's like, Seymour, for God's sake, I'm asking you to take responsibility for once in your miserable life while I eat lunch. Is that too much? Go on, just run whichever one you want. And Ben, what does it look like he's reaching for?
Yeah, He says, "Go on, run whichever one you want. I leave it entirely in your hands." And you see his hand reaching towards Rorschach's journal.
He's also got a shirt on that has like the happy face.
The comedian with the bloodstain.
Yeah,
the bloodstained pen.
We've got our last quote. Give it to us, man.
Yep. It says, "It would be a stronger world, a stronger loving world to die in." John Cole.
And then we see the blood finally passing over the clock.
So there's a very ambiguous ending. What do we think happens? Do we think they publish it? They publish because Rorschach's journal, he dropped it in that mailbox. It has all of the information needed to show that it was all Adrian's plan.
Yeah.
You think they run it?
I think it's one of those things where I don't know if it matters if they run it.
Right, because if they run it,
Not only
also,
is
it might just
the
be
crank file in the crank newspaper.
Right, they're the crazy alt-right newspaper.
Yeah.
Which again, we were already talking about before when we saw it, was when we got to see some clippings of the newspaper, it was like 50% like racist bullshit, and then there were little kernels of like
truth that existed
the real,
in that,
like
being like, something's going on. It's getting pretty weird out here and whatever else. Yeah.
Which again is like, I mean, to circle that back to now and all of the, like, I feel like with the recent like political violence stuff that's going on in America, we always, you know, when you heard about the JFK assassination, you learn about all of these conspiracies and everything that was happening. It's like we're in real time living through people trying to analyze these, and the like
conspiracies
people are like,
going
it's conspiracies on conspiracies on
crazy.
Conspiracies, and some of them sound absolutely outlandish, and some of them you're like,
I mean, I could see it.
you're like, wait a second,
Yeah.
this is making more sense than what they're saying.
Right,
And then
yeah.
the you know, a lot of the stuff that like the FBI is putting forward is like, well, that looks fake as hell. Like, I don't know what really happened,
fake,
but
it wasn't that. At least.
Whatever happened, it's not that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's like this weird, eerie parallel to what we're experiencing now in the real world, and yeah, who knows what happened? That again, it's what Dr. Manhattan was saying as he left. We're like, there's nothing ever ends. There's no real end.
And then we've got also our last quote here, which is I'm going to probably butcher whatever this, maybe Latin or whatever this is, but quis custodiet ipsos custodes, which is who watches the watchman.
Yep.
And who does?
Yeah. What a book, man.
What a book.
Thank you for going on this journey with me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've really enjoyed trying to unpack and analyze this with you, and
now we can talk about it more off the podcast without having to.
We've really been trying. I mean, we keep mentioning this, but we have really tried to not talk that much about the book and leave our genuine conversations and reactions for when we're on mic together. But I mean, let's talk about some of the larger themes here. I guess one that I would definitely want to say that is just such a cool part of this book is the moral ambiguity of the narrative and all the protagonists. Like
everything is morally ambiguous.
Right. Which is like,
except maybe Laurie.
Yeah, Laurie's kind of cool. Yeah, you're right. Laurie is kind of on the ball like the whole time.
Yeah, she is.
But it's funny because, you know, obviously sometimes it's fun and comforting and valid to have media where things are very like stark and good versus evil, whatever, all that. But again, I think, and this, we have to remember, can you just Google real quick, save your computer, what year this was published again? Because we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is a relatively old story. And it's like so much of the phenomenons from recent years, like, what year is it?
Published in 1986.
Yeah, 86, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the weird parallels that I would say is like Game of Thrones, right? Like Game of Thrones took over the world. Yeah. That was one of the big, they kind of fumbled the ending, but for a while that was like one of, I think in the history books, Game of Thrones is going to be talked about as one of the final parts of like when we really had a remnants of the monoculture in the West.
Yeah.
Like right now media, like this part of the conversation in pop culture right now, it's coming into as we're recording this podcast, it's like the first couple of weeks of fall, right? And one of the weird realizations we're having is we don't even know what the songs of the summer were, because the songs that technically were charting, most of us don't know or have never heard, and there's not really, versus we used to have these things that everybody kind of would like talk about at the water coolers or whatever.
Right,
and I think part of what made Game of Thrones, the show, so successful was the fact that the heroes had villainous moments, the villains had these crazy redemption arcs, and that was part. People would die for Jaime Lannister, who killed children, had incest sex with his twin sister,
right?
Twin sister, older, I don't remember. Whatever,
yeah.
Sister, twin. Who cares? Bad.
They're related. They're real
related. And I think this is like it's such a fascinating experience to try to figure out how you feel about these characters as they go, and they all have moments of. They all have moments where you're really rooting for them. I was saying to Antonio earlier when I was setting the mics up, like, obviously the comedian is one of the most despicable characters in the story.
Yeah.
But even the comedian, they show us these weird moments of humanity, and even in his weird philosophy of why he's so evil, he's one of the people that is like the most aware of the tragedy of what's going on around him.
Right.
So there's
that's
all
why
like
he's the comedian.
That's why he's the comedian. Rorschach is like one of the coolest characters. Like he's so incredible. He's inspiring in weird ways. He's disgusting in weird ways.
He's cool with the way, like when he kills the guy in the jail cell, whatever else, you're like, oh, this guy's like so ingenuitive and like smart and whatever else.
And all his detective stuff. He looks amazing. He's got, I mean, all the characters. There's just there's so many sides to them, and there's so much depth. And I think also it's one of those books where everybody who reads it is going to have different takeaways, and they're going to feel differently. Like there's going to, like, talking about this book, there's great discussions to be had, because there's there's obviously some clear things that happen, but there's so much left up for interpretation. I think very intentionally,
I think that you're 100% right. And I mean, this must have been fascinating for you reading this a second time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was stuff that I was excited to revisit, and stuff that I was, excited to try to understand more fully.
Right. Wow.
What do you think? What's your? I mean, I just went with the character nuance. What hit for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this. I mean, not only is this just like a visually striking story, a well-written story, I think that kind of what you touched on is similar to what I'm thinking, which is like the ambiguity of like everything within this really does leave it up to the reader to kind of figure out how they feel. And I think what it leaves me feeling is like I think like most people tend to disagree with the concept of like, what Adrian's plan was in the end, which is like killing all these people for world peace. I think that Dr. Manhattan is right in a way that like, nothing ever ends. There is like, things will come back around again. And because you killed 3 million people now, it doesn't mean that 3 million people don't die later. Like you're not, it doesn't, there is no solving this problem. And that's like, maybe that's like the sad truth of these types of things. But I think, it ends with this just kind of like very human. I mean, there's a lot of just like, again, it's like humanity that comes in at the end of this, where obviously there's a situation with Dan and Lori where it's like just finding this love within and connection within tragedy, which does exist for sure. And then having, Dr. Manhattan talk about how, again, like nothing really ever ends. Humanity is going to go in this cycle or whatever else, forever, until the sun blows up and whatever else. And then we also see this humanity of even somebody like Adrian questioning himself in the end, literally asking a question of like the godlike figure in this, being like, was I right? Did I do the right thing? Like all this time and effort and everything like that. And even in the end, he still wasn't 100% sure. And then we get Rorschach, who again, like you said, is like this super complex character who in some ways is incredible, in some ways is despicable. And he's the one in the end who stands up against because he believes is evil.
He really has it's all about compromise. Like, is it worth it to die for your principles?
Right, and that's the other question. Is it worth, like, should he have like tried to fight against Dr. Manhattan or something? I mean, not like there really is any fighting, and that's the other thing. Like, I think that moment is sometimes how it feels for people like us, for example, like in the world that we live in today, where it's like, you are so, maybe you do feel like so strong about your morals and principles and everything like that, but you're standing in the face of like what feels like God or feels like inevitability,
insurmountable odds. Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes it feels like there is nothing that you can do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
But keep trying.
But keep trying.
That's what I say.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. Yeah, what a story.
I mean, I really enjoyed myself. I hope that anybody listening, I hope you guys did too, for sure.
You know what was a crazy moment too was you and I making the connection between Adrian Veidt and the pirate story protagonist.
Yeah,
like
that
in
was
real
just fun.
time.
That was just fun.
I had not really put that together or thought about it. I think I sort of missed the part where he said he was having dreams about their faces and swimming towards an object.
Yeah,
it's like, that's
the swimming thing did not connect with me originally, but yeah, that was
Alan Moore is just what an artist, man. The prose in this story, like just from the beginning, like
gorgeous.
The excerpts from Rorschach's freaky journal and everything.
What a beautiful human experience right now to experience this.
Yep.
And just feel what that writing and what the art and everything like that feels like. And again, a tight team who put this whole thing together.
Right. At the end too, and in this in the collected edition that
we got pretty
Antonio
lucky.
and I both have, we've got all of this extra art and everything, and that we leafed through, and you can see their process of deciding how to do the characters and everything, and
so much time and effort went into making
the script. You can see them looking at how to do the panels.
Yeah.
There's one page in particular that Antonio pointed out to me that you can literally see
the way that they like storyboarding, but like panel boarding for comics,
right? And you can see them saying like which panels are going to be juxtaposed against each other, which ones are good. Yeah, it's just this whole art form. I don't know. Yeah, big appreciation for the comic art form, and I think it's interesting for us to go back and read this now. But I think in the 80s, this coming out amidst the vast majority of comics being like, this holds up for us to read now. And I think at the time people must have just been like, what is this? Like I think
crazy.
We, superhero dialogue and whatever has come a long way. And we know all sorts of stories like this, like The Boys and Invincible and like all these stories that sort of riff on superheroes but edgy,
right?
And it's cool to revisit the OG of that concept. And
absolutely.
I hope you guys, some of you guys, I hope did a reread of this before, because you're our homies and we were telling you, yo, we're about to do Watchmen. It's lit. Some of you, I'm sure, will just have listened to this and not read Watchmen. And to you guys, I really encourage you guys.
We appreciate you, but also
we appreciate everybody who's here with us.
Try it. This is a comic book podcast by two guys who have not read a lot of comics, and I will tell you, I had a fantastic time.
Cheers, bro. Let's close it out right there.
That sounds good to me. Thanks very much, everybody. Be safe out there.
Peace.
Peace.